everybody. Welcome back to the IMNerd podcast. I'm your host, Freeway, and I'm here with my digitized co-host, Kenny. And we have our special guest and returning friend of the podcast, Majora, aka Cheyenne. Hello.
I got to interject real quick.
Go ahead, do your thing.
A longtime listener of the podcast, Quest. I wasn't in the stream last night because I was watching Matrix 3 and 4 with Fraser and Cheyenne, but he was in our stream last night, Critical Hit Plus, watching Ant play Zelda, and he literally joined the chat saying, I hear a lot about the Cheyenne guy, and I don't really know anything about him except for the fact that apparently he's not worthy of having sexual relations with, even for money.
What was his name?
Quest.
His name's Quest.
I feel like he's on to something, man. Like, I think that the question was, it's a little unrelated to the Matrix, but it was like somebody asked Anthony's husband if like he'd fuck me for $1 million or something, and
how did we get here?
He was just like really debating it, like, oh, I don't know, might not be enough.
Oh my god!
So anyway, I just wanted to shout out Quest.
That. Yeah. Okay, well, shout out to Quest. Quest is one of our OGs, one of the original patrons of the podcast, and a really good friend to the show also. But we're here to talk about the third and fourth Matrix movies. So the third one being the end of the original trilogy, and then the fourth is the abomination that they made 20 years later to
let's not call that just yet.
Well,
we'll go in fresh on that. Like, I don't even want to say anything until
no, hold on. This is our show. And I'm going to let you know right now, that shit is trash. And we will get to it later, but I'm letting everybody know, spoiler alert, the fourth movie is unplayable. It is fucking
I kind of wanted people to go in like, oh, I really wonder, like,
because they know, no. If they saw the fourth Matrix movie, they know it's a dumpster fire. But here's the thing. So the internet believes that the third movie is a dumpster fire. And actually, it has a worse rating on pretty much every review website than the Matrix 4.
The third one is rated horror. Like, the third one is considered like a 20%, a fucking 30%. Like, the third one is considered the absolute worst movie in the Matrix franchise, which is pretty insane to me because I've heard that going into it.
Yeah.
I never saw the third one until yesterday, and I watched it, and we watched it in Discord together, and I typed in the chat when we were maybe 40 minutes in. I was like, hey, I just want to let you guys know, I like this movie. I don't really know why people hate it, but so far, maybe it turns to shit, but so far I like the movie. But yeah, and then if you look on the internet, it's considered horrible. Even before Matrix 4 came out, it's considered horrible. And I don't really get it. It seems like a straight continuation of the second movie.
That's what I was going to say. So the interesting thing is, we did our Kill Bill podcast recently, and Kill Bill 1 and 2 are literally just one long movie. They even say, if you look into it, that Quentin Tarantino had the movie shot in chronological order. So the very first scene being like the massacre at El Paso, all the way to the end where she actually kills Bill. And therefore, like, when you're watching Volume 1 and you like Volume 1, Volume 2 is literally, it picks up right where the last movie left off. Like, they are a continuation of a movie. The Matrix Reloaded and the Matrix Revolutions, they are literally a continuation from 2 to 3. So at the end of 2, this is where we left off in the last podcast. The end of 2, Neo realizes that he can use his abilities outside of the Matrix. There were a group of Sentinels that were about to ambush them on the way to Zion, and he put his hand out while everyone was about to be basically killed because they were virtually unarmed against those things. Like, you need special equipment to fight them and in your human form. And he let the other people go, and he said something feels different. All of it, something's changed. And he puts his hand out, and he only does that type of stuff in the Matrix where he puts his hand out and things happen. But he does it in real life, and the Sentinels get crushed by his just will to do that. So come to find out, he's actually all powerful in the Matrix and outside the Matrix, but he then passes out. And we're supposed to kind of believe that it somewhat kills him. Like, it puts him into a comatose state. So when you watch the third movie, it starts off with him waking up in this realm where he's kind of like stuck. He's in some comatose state, and he's stuck in this train station area where he can't leave. And the Merovingian is basically the person responsible for holding him captive. And it's like a weird thing, but they need to have this train conductor dude who created this entire realm. He's the only person who can get Neo out. Now, I know that is a little convoluted, like, at first and all that, but Sean, you want to speak?
Yeah, I was going to say, dude, so I Googled it. I was like thinking, like, it's basically like, just right now I Googled Matrix 3 limbo area. because I wanted to see what it was called. I was like, what the fuck is that area called? So I could like just pop in real quick. And it's called Mobile Avenue, like that's the station. And Mobile is an like an anagram or whatever the fuck you'd call it for limbo.
Oh wow.
So like the train station, it's MOBIL, and that's limbo.
That's so
which
cool.
is actually really fucking cool.
That's I love stuff like that.
Seen The Matrix a million fucking times, never noticed.
I've never picked up on that either, ever.
So yeah, like that limbo area is just kind of
When I was a kid and I first saw the third Matrix movie, one of the scenes that is so iconic to me and so cool to me is basically my first instance of seeing like a genjutsu. Neo tries to, after he confronts the train conductor and the guy's like, listen, down here, I'm God. And he punches Neo through a wall and Neo starts bleeding and shit. So you realize that even though he's the one, for some reason, in this particular place that this guy created, his opponent is actually more powerful than him. After that, the train pulls off. Neo's just in a train station. So just imagine you're standing on a train platform by yourself. There's no one else around. Neo jumps down into the tracks and he decides to run through the tunnel. And they do this where they show the scene sideways. So you see like a landscape wide shot of the entire train station, like the platform, right? And he runs to the left through the tunnel and then he just comes out on the right side and he's like, oh fuck. So
some
I feel like that's definitely a callback. I feel like that's some kind of reference to video games. You know, like on a video game, you go to one side, you pop out the other. It's definitely what it feels like to me. Like Mario on arcade.
Yes. I like it a lot though, because obviously he thought that, all right, you know what? I was able to
fucking leave.
Yeah, he was just like, I'll just leave myself. Like, I don't need a train. I'll just walk, right? Is basically what he was thinking. And after a point, he probably think I'll just fly because he flew 500 miles in one of the movies, I believe. So like he probably thought to himself, I'll just literally walk it or run it really quickly. And the second he goes through one side, you just see him come out the other side. It's very cartoonish, but it's also amazing because you get the idea. And it's basically like he's trapped in this genjutsu world. He just has to stay there until whenever. So this prompts Morpheus and Trinity and Seraph, the guy who protects the Oracle. They all go to meet the Merovingian. And in order to get to him, they have to fight their way through his nightclub. So there's like this whole big action sequence that it's a Matrix action sequence. They end up fighting the guys, jump on the ceiling, and they fight them, right? It's like a whole big thing. And it's cool. It's exactly what you expect. It's a lot of flipping around and all that stuff.
They're all wearing a bunch of sex mask and stuff.
Yes.
They go in the elevator. And they're like, if we're lucky, there's only one guy. Trinity goes, well, what if we're unlucky? He's like, there's more than one guy.
There will be many.
Like,
yeah.
Dude, it's so funny though. Like I in that scene, I've always, even like as a kid, I found it kind of funny. Like they all just randomly decided to start doing like cartwheels and shit.
Yes.
And every time they just get shot up. There's like two or three of them that like they try to escape the bullets and then they just get
one
murdered.
guy started doing backflips. He just dropped his guns and started doing actual backflips, and he just gets gunned down.
It's like, what are you doing? Like he just started flipping in front of them.
So
like,
I will say this. A lot of the flipping and stuff in the first two movies, it was done really well in the sense that when people did it, they didn't actually get attacked or punished for it. And I don't know why, but in the third movie, they just decided to get realistic about it. And the people who were doing all the flips and backflips and shit, which are very slow motions to take than just running, they just got gunned down. And like Cheyenne said, every single time somebody did a backflip or a cartwheel for no reason, they got fucking gunned down. If you watch the first two movies, when Trinity and Neo have that iconic scene where they storm the military building, they do a lot of flips and backflips and all that kind of stuff and cartwheels and all that, and they don't get punished ever. And so you just kind of believe like, all right, well, this is the way to dodge things in this world. But then the third movie, they're like, if you do that shit, you get gunned down by an Uzi. Like these guys,
get, like punished.
They didn't have the skills. They were just trying to copy.
Yeah, they got gunned down bad. So that was a little like interesting thing that they showed. Don't do that anymore. Like that doesn't work anymore. But I guess the other big part about this is they eventually get to the Merovingian, and there's this whole thing about him holding Neo captive, and Trinity puts a gun to his head and said, listen, we can all just die here. You got two choices. We can all die, or you can release Neo. And they don't actually show him make the choice. They just cut to the next scene, and a train arrives for Neo to get out of where he's held captive. So it's kind of like that's the opening of the movie. Where does it go from there, Cheyenne? Like right after that?
I was going to say at the very end, though, I think that's the last time. It might be the final time in the whole series that we ever see the Merovingian and that we ever see the Train Man.
Yeah,
like, is that the final time? Like, it is a little bit of a bummer. Like, I guess those characters, the Train Man kind of he has a very specific purpose. But the Merovingian, it would have been a little cool if they could have freed it up. But okay, so What do we got after that?
I guess the thing that is important about this movie that is different from the other ones, I do want to talk about this, and maybe this is what people don't like about it. This movie is not as much in the Matrix as the other two. This movie spends a lot of time outside of the Matrix, and Kenny, his girlfriend, Cheyenne, me, Bill, all of us who watched it last night, all of us who enjoyed the third movie, the parts where they were focusing on the war to come with the Sentinels against the machines, that stuff all takes place in Zion outside of the Matrix. So you get the really grunge, everyone, looks really dirty and oiled up and just kind of like everyone's greasy as fuck and frantic.
Almost like cyberpunk, but not really cyberpunk. Yeah. It's more like this gritty, almost like steampunk.
It's very dystopian, right? Like, and you've seen this place before, right? Like this is the same place that's in the other two movies, but now they focus, like most of the movie takes place in Zion this time because they actually fight in Zion.
From what I've seen, a big complaint a lot of people on the internet, critics and whatever, have with this movie is, to sum it up, is that there's too much action. That a lot of the movie is action and it's focused on the war and it's, gunfire, and there's not as much story and like heady stuff as there was in Matrix 1 and 2. And while that is true. There's more action, a lot more action, a lot more gunfighting, a lot more whatever. I think you have to take it into context that this is the conclusion of 3 movies. This is what 2 movies built up to this war. So when you get to a war, there's going to be a lot of action. So I think it's weird to like fault it for doing what it led up to. Like it was leading to a war.
It led
like
to
2 movies were leading to a war. Like,
and then you watch the war.
If you watch a movie in a fucking vacuum, of course you're gonna be like, "Wow, that was really action."
Right,
but it's we had, and the second movie built all this shit up already. We already know about this war and all this shit.
Imagine Game of Thrones Battle of the Bastards just happens, right? Like there's no, it just like
it would still be a really cool fucking visual though. That battle's awesome, but you'd also be like, "The fuck am I watching?"
But we built up to that. The entire season 6 was showing like the North Winterfell and how they're going to deal with. The guy who stole it, Ramsay stole Winterfell and they're going to get it back. And that was the entire thing. So yeah, it's weird for people to complain about the action and the war stuff when that was literally what they were always building to from the very first movie. And we finally get that. And I actually love it. So another thing that's going on simultaneously is at the end of the last movie, and then Matrix Reloaded, Bane, who is apparently the opposite of Neo, Mr. Smith, he's inside of him. He's taken over his consciousness. So they showed on the 2 gurneys, you saw Neo unconscious on one, you saw Bane on the other one. And they were trying to figure out who blew an EMT or EMP. I keep saying EMT. Who blew an EMP in the last movie?
Who blew an EMT is wild.
I went in an ambulance and I blew him.
Oh my God. So there was a big question about who blew an EMP. And leave it to the IMNerd podcast, right? To just have who blew an EMT. That's actually so ridiculous. I can't even deal with that. That's just so ridiculous. Somebody who's coming to rescue someone and they just get blown instead. Like, oh man. Oh, that's great. I actually dated an EMT for a while, so that's really funny. But
so,
anyway.
So it was Fraser.
So it was me. So
we have our answer.
So the answer is me. I blew the EMT. So anyway, yeah, there was a whole thing where the captain of all of the ships and stuff, he's trying to investigate and understand what went wrong with this other ship that went out a while ago. Everyone ended up dying except this one guy, Bane. Bane comes back and he is fully just Mr. Smith. Like it is Agent Smith inside of him. Yeah. And he's
Roland's that guy's name.
Roland is the name of the captain guy. Gotcha. Yeah. So Bane is still on all bullshit. He's still trying to find a way to get to Neo and kill him. And there's like a mission set up where Trinity and Neo are going to go to the actual machine city, which is a suicide mission. No one has ever attempted to do something as crazy as this. They don't think that they would even get close to it. And it's a big part of it. And the rest of it is setting up for, like, again, the war is coming, so everyone in Zion is basically have to fight. I mean, everyone. They have children fighting, basically, like, the one guy who's a Neo fan, he's really young, and he's on the battlefield. They have people who are designated to just reload their mechs. They have these Gundams.
The guy... I mean, the fucking reload guys is what? Could you fucking imagine? There's just fucking gunfire everywhere, and your job is to run out with a wagon.
They fucking run out there with like a Chinese rickshaw of fucking. They're like,
Yeah.
Like the most impractical fucking thing, and they just had like, and it was funny because Kenny was like, "Why the fuck is there no like armor piece on the front of the mechs?" And I was just like, "Well, they need to feel the air
was me.
breeze through their hair." I think you were saying it. Everybody,
Yeah,
was saying,
I was like, why
what
are these
is with
things
the-
so
just
exposed?
exposed? And I was like, "Well, they need to like feel the surroundings. It's like EDM gear." Like I
They
was
could've
just
just-
making up
mobile.
bullshit reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah,
to be mobile. They could have
be
just had
mobile,
turrets.
yeah.
They could have had regular ass turrets. All right.
Honestly, yes, because there was really not much of a difference between those. There was one scene though that I thought was interesting. There was a drill that was falling down onto the bridge, and there were 3 Gundams on it. And as the thing was falling, at the very last minute, the 3 men all jumped out the way, and they did it like how a human would jump out the way of something. They did it as soon as it was too close. I would have jumped way earlier, but they jumped at the last minute. And what I was surprised about, and the reason why I'm even talking about, is because the Gundam thing jumped at the exact same time that their bodies moved. So I thought that was like, that was something I'm not used to seeing. Usually there's a bit of a delay when it comes to giving a command to something that big, right? You don't expect it to actually move the second you move, but the guy like did a jumping motion with his body. You could see it. And the mech jumped with him at the exact same time. So that was like, I was like, oh, these things are pretty cool in that regard.
I think they're doing a little bit of my bad, but I think they're doing a little bit of movie magic though, because like if we're being like absolutely fucking real, they're the shittiest fucking robot things you've ever seen. Like they would not be able to move like that. Like they're so
that's why that scene
like,
stood out to me so much. Is it was a little jarring how well the mechs, the limbs of the mechs, the legs and the arms, they actually move so well and so quickly with the motions of the human controlling them, that I'm like, there's no way that would actually be like that. But suspension of disbelief, we're already watching The Matrix. You already accept so many things about it.
I was gonna say, speaking of impossible missions, Niobe also, they had like 2 ships, and there was like, they had all the captains on the one ship, and Niobe gave Neo and Trinity her ship. But anyway, she fucking piloted back to Zion, and then the whole thing was like through the mechanical tower or whatever.
Yeah,
they're like, it's impossible to fly through it, and then she Star Foxed her way through.
Yeah,
and
apparently she's an insane pilot.
And then she says the great quote, "Shit, she's got a fat ass."
Yeah, I love that. That's my favorite part of the entire movie.
The entire series.
Love that quote. She's got a fat ass. So yeah, this movie then.
It's funny, real quick, you guys typed that in chat like before she said it.
Yeah,
like 20 minutes before she said
literally
it. And I was
like that long.
You were just
I was like,
what?
you guys typed it, and I was like, oh man, did I miss like a scene where they showed her ass? Like I was like, did they show Jada's ass and I missed it?
I bet you were confused. I was like, I hope that this is a little confusing, because I was anticipating the line. I thought it happened a little sooner than it did. So when I said it, like you said, there was a 20-minute period before she actually got to that point, because there's other stuff that goes on. So they enter the Matrix, and the Oracle, Seraph, and this little girl, there's like this whole thing going on. And it keeps coming down to that question, because the Oracle looks different. So it's all about choice and determinism. And the Oracle, the person who played the actual actress died, right, Cheyenne? I believe we talked about this a little bit. So the actress who played the Oracle in the first 2 movies, she actually passed away before this movie was filmed. So they changed her off for a different old black lady, but same exact purpose, same exact motherly feel and all that. Same baker, baking cookies, and she has candy she offers Neo. So a lot of the same things, but when he sees her, he's like, you don't look the same or whatever. And she's like, yeah, I made a decision that I have to live with. And they actually used the fact that she's a different looking person as part of the plot. Like it's kind of
I wish that they went, like, it would have been really cool. I personally think they should have done like an Animatrix episode on it. But like they really don't go, they just kind of do like the pseudoscience babble where it's
I was
like,
about to say,
my physical shell changed to the GPU of the, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, they don't explain it well. They do make it well. They do make it a point. You know how in some shows or some movies, when an actor changes, they just won't address it because it's like, it's not supposed to be a part of the plot.
It kind of breaks the fourth wall.
It breaks the fourth wall to mention the fact that this person is different. But this time Neo walks in, he sees her, and he's like, you look different. And then she speaks on why she looks different. And again, it's like a part of the plot, but it's not explained in any kind of way. But the point is that she knows what's about to happen, and she says tonight, the war will end, win or lose, right? Like I'm on your side, but at the end of the day, either you're going to lose or you're going to win, and that's it. There's no in between. Like tonight, it all ends tonight. So the war is coming, and Neo leaves her, but then in the next scene, like, you see Mr. Smith, Agent Smith, come out of nowhere, and Seraph and the little girl are running from him and they're trying to get away, but then eventually there are so many Smiths like there were in Reloaded. I think that he's taken over even more the Matrix by this point. Then
when
they
they
don't
show
show
it-
the extent at this time. They don't show it until like the end of the movie. You realize that he's actually taken over.
At the end of the movie, it's seemingly he has taken over every fucking body in the Matrix,
which would be like 6 billion people at the time that this movie was made, like the entire world, right? Because it's just the whole Earth. So
I would have loved to see the fucking newscast of like what people would have been saying during those times. Like, fucking newscast of like there's a rogue copy boy who's like, what the fuck would they even say?
Yeah, it would have been cool.
Actually be a really cool thing, right?
Yeah,
Because like, how would the real world explain like there's a fucking guy that turns you into him?
Yeah,
and it's it's like zombies, but
like CNN.
Yeah, I don't know how it would be explained because we just had a pandemic and even that wasn't explained well on the news. So you imagine somebody literally copying themselves over every person. But I also think about how iconic it was for me growing up watching DBZ. One of the best scenes to me in the Cell Saga was him going to the news station and like on national TV absorbing the newscasters. Like that is a scene from DBZ, and that freaked me out because thinking about watching the news and seeing violence happen in the news station from an alien, like something that is not even fucking human, killing people. And the way he kills them, I imagine, in DBZ is an anime, it's cartoonish, but the way you would see it in real life would probably be horrifying, right? Like you see a person get
the way
sucked
you
through
see
his
it
tail.
in anime, it's fucking horrifying.
It is. So yeah,
I just sucks them up. Yeah,
so imagine seeing
scary.
The newscasters, just sitting there at their desk, and then Mr. Anderson comes in and he sticks his hand in the guy, and you just start seeing that black ink looking stuff come over somebody on TV. And you're like,
man.
You're like, that's not real. You know what I mean? Like right now, if that happened, me and you, we wouldn't believe it. We just wouldn't. We would think that it's like
it's like, remember the one of the first scenes it is like the first scene in the Matrix one where they're jumping across the roof, and when the cop goes, "That's impossible." You just had that reaction, like that's
I literally wouldn't even believe it.
Yeah, even if you saw it in person, you'd be like, oh, I'm just having a mental breakdown. Like, what the fuck's going on? Like,
something that's really cool though about the scene when Agent Smith, after we see him with Seraph and we see him get into the Oracle's room, I thought that fucking scene, like, once again, people complain that this movie didn't have as much like weird Matrix shit, but I thought this scene was really cool too, because Agent Smith goes in and he goes, "You're the Oracle, and so like you should have known I was coming. Yeah. And if you knew I was coming, you should have got away. But if you didn't get away and you're still sitting here, that means there's a reason why you're sitting here."
Right.
And he's like, and he's literally, he's trying to logic out, like, why the fuck
are you here?
If she knows everything, why is she even here at all? Why did she bake a plate of cookies and why did she leave the cookies there? Did she know I was going to throw the cookies against the wall? And he's like trying to figure out what's happening. And he's basically like, is there a fucking trap here? She couldn't get away. And it's really cool to see him try to logic through it.
The entire series from this guy, and now all of a sudden he's found her and she's just chilling. She's calm, collected. She has a plate full of cookies, I think, next to her too, and he picks up the plate and he throws it violently against the wall and it shatters. I actually love this scene because of the emotion that he has, but he's like
he was more like conservative and sort of like chilled the fuck out in the first movies, and then like Reloaded, he kind of starts becoming crazier, but I feel like he really just becomes a crazy dude in this third movie.
Yeah,
like he's just nuts. There's no more that kind of like laid back sort of like Mr. Anderson. There's like no more of that. He's just kind of like fucking throwing cookies at the wall, and he's just losing his mind and shit. And when he absorbs her, that fucking laugh, even though it's like a villain laugh, it's just great. I just love watching him fucking laugh like that.
I love all of the stuff surrounding the Oracle with the cookies and her offering them to Neo in the first movie, and then him like, you already knew I was going to take it or if I was going to do it or not. So did I really have the choice? And that's kind of the question we've always been asking. And then Mr. Smith is also asking himself the same thing. Like, you baked those cookies, but you knew that I was going to come in here and throw that plate, or did you? Right? Like you baked them.
I
what was the
assume
point?
she only eats cookies. That's just my assumption. I assume little candies, little pocket candies and cookies. That is literally it.
Yeah, it's great though. Yeah. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to keep talking about, it was really cool. Like, just all of that, the determinism, whether or not they were going to make the choice. And then seeing Agent Smith, like, in fear, because like he's trying to figure out where the trap is, why she's still here. And so even when he's absorbing her, you see fear in his face.
Yeah, you don't know if
like he's scared while he's absorbing her.
He does that. But this one, he's like really afraid when he pulls back. I would just love it every time.
Yeah, like did I do it? Am I going to get fucked up from doing that? Another part that I want to talk about in this scene, because this scene is actually, I texted in the chat when we were watching it, but this scene is super amazing to me. So the little girl that is like the future or whatever, she gets absorbed by Mr. Smith as well. So yeah, Sati. And the Oracle's only question to him is pretty much one of the only things she really says to him is like, what'd you do to Sati? And he's like, cookies need love like everything does, which is what the Oracle said to the little girl. Yeah. And so the fact that he knows that line means that she is now absorbed into him because he knows everything that every person that he copies himself over onto, he gains all of their knowledge, right? Like all of their knowledge, basically all their abilities too. But because regular people really don't have like crazy abilities, it's not a big deal, but he knows what they know. So that line, he wasn't there for that line, but he knew it because he's now that little girl. So he's like, cookies need love like everything does. And the insinuation there is that I've already absorbed that little girl. She's part of me now. Me.
Yeah, like they're really playing with like horror at this point. Like, I think of all the Matrix series, this is probably like the closest we get to horror. I'd say some of the squid scenes are kind of horror-y, but
I think Matrix 4 was a horror movie.
I think it was a horror movie too. The acting was fucking terrifying. But
horrible horror.
She says, and this is an emotional thing that she says too. She says, "You are a bastard." Like, you know, she said after he says what he did to Sati, or he insinuates what he did, she calls him a
you
bastard.
Would know, Mom.
Yep. And yeah, he calls her mom, which I was like, oh shit, that's also interesting, right? And then she's like, do what you came here to do, you know? Like, let's get this over with. Let's not pussyfoot around, because tonight, from her perspective, the Oracle who knows everything in the future, or somewhat knows everything, she already knows that no matter what, tonight is the last day. Like, it ends tonight one way or the other. So this part is not going to change anything. Running is not going to change anything. I just have to get it over with. And yeah, he absorbs her, and then he takes off his glasses, and they don't show it, but you hear the sound of the Matrix, the sound of the green running down on the black, and you know that he's seeing what Neo sees.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's seeing exactly when Neo became the one and they started showing the binary coming down, the code. Basically, he now sees that. And also, obviously, he can see the future too. So
he gained like some Oracle powers because, you know, jumping to the end, and I think this is, I mean, I don't even think it's a hot take, right? I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be obvious, but the part of the reason why the Oracle, I guess part of her trap was that giving him this power was going to mess him up, because basically at the end when they're fighting, he's essentially using the Oracle power, and he's like, I've seen this, I've been here, he's like,
it was just like this, and you were right there, and I was right here, and I said something. I said, he's trying to go through the motions of exactly what he saw in the future, but it's one of those cool stories that go ahead.
And then but that ends up being kind of the reason why he loses. Him having that power and like him not fully understanding what the power is and how to use it. He said
everything that has a beginning has an end. And he realizes once he says that's basically
it's like
saying
a Hunter nuke situation almost. It's like some kind of like, it's like a poison of some sorts where like, okay, like you can take me, but then I'm setting up this trap of some sort, you know?
Yeah,
it was really cool. Like, I guess it is like that, like Netero versus the king.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that.
Yeah. So I really do like this movie overall. So other things that happen in this movie that are really, really good. Obviously, you have the war stuff and all the Gundams, and Z helps out at one point.
Knuckle up.
Yeah.
I don't know the one girl's name. I know her name is not Cheddar, and Fraser's disrespectful.
I called the Cheddar.
In the middle of watching it, he's like Z and Cheddar, whatever the fuck her name is. But no, she was cool. Like Z and that girl were really cool. Like they were doing some badass shit. And
the Sentinels get to her at some point. They just
something that's cool about this movie, and as a slight spoiler of the shit talk you're going to hear in a little bit about Matrix 4, this movie was like really fucking good at being whatever you want to call it, quote unquote progressive. There was like a lot of scenes where there was a lot of girls, for example, doing a lot of badass shit, but at no point in the movie did it feel forced or feel like they were trying to it was just like, these are people in the movie doing badass shit, and they so happen to be girls, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, I like that. It didn't seem like there was scenes meant for example, in Avengers Endgame, there was an entire scene with all the female superheroes coming together, and they kind of like did this pose thing before they set out to attack.
Yeah.
Was it cringy or was it like
It was.
cool?
It was cringy. It was like
it
was very obviously a girl power scene. And the point that I'm making is I have no fucking issue with girls doing cool badass shit in the movies. And I think the way they did Matrix 3 was awesome. There was girls doing the whole movie.
It's never like we
There
never
was girls
have a problem
doing-
with them doing cool shit. It's when you draw the attention and you go, you see what we did there, audience?
Yeah, it's
Look
the
at the-
fact
here
that
we go,
they're
guys.
trying. I hate when
They
people
want
try
like
to say
they want like a fucking applause break. They want the crowd to go.
I don't
That's what
want
happens
people
to
to
in
go like
theaters.
this is
Beautiful.
me. This is me being a good person. Can't you guys see that I'm a good person? Look at this.
exactly.
And I hate that. It's just like, just be a good
Fucking
person
hate
and
it.
don't fucking draw attention to it.
Just
But anyway,
don't draw attention to it.
Yeah, there's shit in the Matrix 4 where it's like they're very blatantly trying to do like a girl power thing, and it comes off so cheesy. Whereas like in the Matrix 3, they did girl power, but they never. It's like it never felt like it was called girl power. It's like girls doing cool badass
they realize
shit.
we have eyeballs and we can see it and we can make it out on our own. We don't need somebody to fucking hold our hand and drag us to the fucking applause line, you know? Just so beautiful. Stunning and
So
brilliant.
yeah, it was cool. The war shit was cool. Z was awesome.
So I like the whole bit about Neo and Trinity going to the Machine City and Bane snuck on their actual vehicle.
Yeah.
And there's
because this is right after, because we know what's going on, right? But the
Yeah.
people on the ship are like, the one guy's like, there's something fucking wrong with this guy. He's crazy, this Bane guy. And they're like, do this on him, do the truth serum. And then this is kind of the first time we see the Bane act like Agent Smith. And he's like, what if I don't want to remember? Because if I remember and I did do those things, it'd be really bad for me. And then like he stabs her and he's like, but then again, I guess it's pretty bad for you.
He's just doing the best. He's just doing the best fucking Agent Smith impression. It's so good.
And then
I guess
he
that'd
gets
be
away
really
and he ends
bad.
up on the ship with Neo, and it's fucking, it is pretty wild.
Yeah, he ends up ambushing them pretty well. He catches Trinity and they get into a whole fight. And she gets the upper hand, but then she does the dumb thing that you do in a horror movie where you turn your back to the killer even after you beat their ass. So you know how in Halloween movies, you'll see like Jamie Lee Curtis beat the shit out of Michael Myers, right? He'll be down for the count, but then she'll turn her back and start running and she'll get clocked from behind or trip or something.
Yeah.
He'll be right there.
She like went up the ladder to like call Neo. And then I remember as I saw her go up the ladder, I saw there was a hatch and I was like, why doesn't she close the hatch?
Yeah, why wouldn't you just
like she went up the ladder and went to like the
But she also kicked
emergency
him
call
down the
pad.
hatch too. Like when he climbed up,
but like
she kicks him in the face
close
3 times.
and-
No, I
and
know, but I'm
close the
saying that would have been
hatch.
the perfect fucking hatch closing time.
And she just left the
kicked
hatch
him out.
open.
Dude,
I was like, what the fuck?
I just went through Scream 1 through 6, right? And there are so many fucking times where like they'll hit him with like a pot or just some like a vase, and the Scream ghost will be on the ground for a little bit. It's like, well, you have like a knife in your hand too. Like fucking end it. Like, what are you doing? And then they'll just run off and he'll like recover. But it is kind of like stupid shit a little bit. You just got to be like, it's a movie.
Yeah, that's exactly what I think. Because he jammed her head into a metal wall. And obviously she's out for the rest of, that whole thing. But then he confronts Tom. He confronts Neo. And they have this whole conversation because Neo still doesn't really understand what's going on yet either. So Bane is talking, but he's talking like Mr. Smith the entire time. And eventually he catches on and realizes like, oh shit, it's actually you. They get into a fight. The lights get turned out and Neo gets blinded. He gets actually
impossible. Inevitable.
He gets literally blinded. And it's a horrible thing too. Like,
could you imagine what his fucking burning eyes smell like?
Yeah, like an electrical wire got jammed into his face, and his face is smoldering. You see it bubbling and all blackened and
fucking nasty looking.
It's really bad looking. It actually looks gross as hell. So yeah, it's really bad. But then after that, of course, now once Neo's blinded in the real world, he can see even better. So his vision is like he sees the Matrix shit basically.
Yeah,
again.
he basically sees the code, but just in real life now.
Yeah. So now he can actually see better than he could see when he was fighting.
I don't know if I'd call it better. It's more like his like intuition of like magic shit is better, but like what he sees is almost like fucking echolocation or like sonar.
Well, here's what I mean. Here's what I
vision.
mean by better. I assume that he's more powerful when he's looking at the code, like when he's in the Matrix. And so if his vision,
kind of same,
like if his vision's going to be that in and out, because that's who he's truly the one. So his vision needs to always be like the code of everything.
They if anything, I guess like what you're saying in a way is almost like it forces him into permanent code vision. So he kind of, it's like, you know, when a blind person, their other senses become better. It's almost like his senses of the Matrix code all around him becomes like better.
Yeah. I mean, not only that,
that,
it gives him the ability to see shit, like, because he was able to see shit essentially from super far away that like Trinity couldn't see with normal eyes, and it was like through walls and shit. He was able to be like, oh, this is over here.
Like that is literally better vision. Even if me and you wouldn't necessarily want that sight, because you don't see people really, you kind of just see like the, you know, you see like an outline of people in their heat, but you don't actually see a person. So for me and you, for all intents and purposes, unless we wanted to have that, it's not really ideal. But
good for us,
but for the war that they're in and for the purposes that he needs it for, I was like, oh yeah, this is actually broken. So yeah, he ends up beating Mr. Smith in his human out of the Matrix form. He ends up killing Bane. I actually like to see when he kills Bane. Yeah, he hits him and they show the guy's face kind of get destroyed. Like shit, you could tell he hit him to the point where it killed him. Like it killed any human being. But he tells him like, you know, we're not done here. You know, like this is not the end of me. Like that you killed me here, but you know, this was just my failed attempt at eliminating you before the actual fight in the Matrix. Like I tried to get the one up on you real quick.
Like one of the first scenes of the Matrix 1 or Matrix 2 is actually Bane like getting copied over with Smith, and that's like really one of the earliest scenes. So they set this whole Bane versus Neo thing up for 2 fucking movies. Like for me, I personally love it. Like I love because it's a complete twist on the Matrix. Like they're them fighting in person and scrounging around on the metal and shit. There's no martial arts. There's no kung fu. There's no guns. It's just gritty fucking violence. They're hitting each other over the head with fucking lamps and glass and punches. And there's fucking cuts. But the cuts, like people don't really ever get cut in the Matrix. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they just get punched and that's fine. But like in this, he's like fucking broken nose almost.
Yeah, you're right.
I love it.
There is no martial arts or kung fu here. It's just raw human
violence.
It's like cavemen fighting. You know, the earliest days of violence. It's like I just have a big weapon and I'm going to bludgeon you with it. And that's how
they set up for 2 movies, and it's just an awesome. I love that whole Bane thing. It is just enough screen time to make it like you're invested. It's like I think it's really paced out really fucking well. Like I love the Bane shit.
And then right after that is an extremely long sequence of the war where you see all the humans and their mechs fighting against the Sentinels. And there are some really cool scenes in there. Like when the captain guy gets killed, you see the Sentinels.
Mifune.
Yeah, Mifune. They kind of come up into this spider-like formation. And I typed in the chat, nope, immediately when I saw that because it just looked terrifying.
Dude, when
they're making progress though, because there's like a beam of bullets and metal shooting onto the hole.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, the hole is just like, oh, okay,
dude,
well, it
there's a part where
and
it's like they kind of plug the hole almost, and it's like it feels like it kind of, and then it's like there's a fucking swarm that comes out, like and spider, then it's funny because Fraser in chat typed nope. I literally audibly out loud was like nope, like I said, and then I saw him type it. I was like, dude. Fuck that.
The battle for the dock. But
every time I watch it, I think they're gonna get like it might go a little different this time I watch it.
Me
like,
too.
Maybe they're gonna kick it. You always like to think that a little bit.
I really do.
Maybe they're gonna have a little more success on this battle, but like no, it's a spider. Like it spreads out.
The other thing is that you mentioned horror, and I'm watching it back again, like right here on my screen, and there are parts where you see the Sentinels gripping men off the ground and just tossing them overboard. Yeah. And that is because the Sentinels look creepy. Like they look like they're very spider-like. They have a lot of limbs, and they just kind of yank humans out of the mechs or just yank humans off the ground level and toss them. And that is a horrible way to die.
Over the edge.
Yeah, there's a part where like one of their little tentacles, it goes like straight through somebody's body, and like their body's on the tentacle, and it kind of like shakes and throws them off somewhere else. Like
it's really. It is horror. Like I would be terrified in this moment. And while this is happening, the people in the mechs are like reload. When they yell reload, this gate opens up with all these civilians who are helping fight, and they have to run out with a cart that has ammunition on it to manually reload the mechs. Which I'm glad that I'm glad that they put that in the movie because, you know, in anything else, they would just completely forgo this and they would just have infinite ammo. But like, they don't have infinite ammo. This is real life, right? Like, or as real as it can be. So they're like, yeah, we run out of bullets eventually and we will need to be reloaded. So
Yeah, there's a
someone's gonna have to do
fucking
that.
reload unit, and you got to run
it's
out
like
there with your
adorable.
fucking wagon.
The guys, so like when they run out there with their little reload wagon, there's like they have like 2 escorts, like they'll have like those little like electric cannons.
Yeah.
But they had these little fucking helmets on that almost look like something from like RoboCop. It's like
It
something
does
from
look
like
like
the
RoboCop.
80s, and it's like they have like a little fucking like a Saiyan visor on the like a power scanner on the fucking side. It's like, what is that? That's not. Is that going to defend from like a head claw?
I mean, the
Like,
one
what is
robot
this
grips the
shit?
guy's legs who has the helmet on and just tosses him overboard.
Like, I don't even know if they really even have body armor. It's just they have these helmets. I don't know if
Probably
that
not
helps
body
them
armor
read.
because you need to be fast, I would imagine. So it's all about speed. I mean, the main guy who's reloading, they don't have anything on. They're in regular clothes.
Yeah, he's in a fucking t-shirt and sweatpants.
Yeah.
yeah, it's like, which I think that might as well be what you wear, because
I
it's like
agree.
at a certain
It's the
point, like
same
if you're going to
thing.
be a bomb disposal unit guy,
Yeah, it's
You're
the
gonna
same
d-
thing.
just don't go, dispose the bomb naked, because you're just going to die anyway.
And I'd rather
Or just
have
don't wear clothes.
I'd
Like,
rather
why
have the
even wear
least
protection?
amount of clothing on to weigh me down. Like I wouldn't want to
Yeah,
wear
exactly.
anything
You
heavy.
want to.
Yeah, I think being as light
Which
on
is
your feet
why,
as
and then
possible.
it all
Yes.
comes full circle to why there's no body plate armor on the
Shut the
mechs.
fuck
No,
up.
'Cause we
no.
The
'Cause we
mechs
need them
should
to
be covering
free.
the human, even if
Dude.
it's a farce. It should be covering them though.
To
No,
to
yeah,
get to
it's terrible
part,
design.
because Fraser mentioned like when the commander Mifune dies, when like the spiders just not the squid, they do their fucking thing,
Yeah,
and they just like lacerate his face, and
yeah,
like,
they just run past him and it ruins
Yeah.
him.
They just and then
He's
I
like,
was
you
like-
gotta, you gotta open the dock for the logos to come in. He's like, but I never completed the training program. He's like, neither did I, kid.
yeah, well,
I really love that guy, man. He's a cool
Well,
character.
maybe if you complete the training program, you get a fucking windshield on your mech.
Yeah. Like, what are we
he-
talking about here?
Like he gets absolutely lacerated, and if he just had some kind of covering there, like he could have
Well, no,
survived that.
his face may have still gotten messed up though, unless it would cover the whole head, because I assume there's a little head spot from the lookout.
You see,
Well, that wouldn't make any sense.
No, it's
now.
it's
shield.
like
Yeah, I
I
don't
want
know
him
what
to
I'm
have like
talking about.
tempered glass or something.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Something.
He needs something to protect himself, and like if they break through the glass, then he was going to die anyway.
They're glass
But,
cannon mechs, you know.
they're
All
the
offensive.
definition
then-
of glass.
Yeah,
cannon.
Strand was like they
Yeah.
need to be mobile. I was like, he fucking stood there and shot. Like there was no
I just love,
Yeah, he
I
was
just
not
love
mobile.
being like an idiot though. Like I love pretending like I'm serious.
The funny
with it.
part
Like,
is that he
they're
was
the
not
fucking
mobile.
worst design ever. Wait, what'd you say, Fraser?
I said the funny part is that he was just not mobile. He never moved.
Yeah, but also it's like they're on there's like a fucking 50 mechs, but they're on this narrow fucking bridge
Yeah.
that's elevated above like fucking all kinds of like a boiler systems and all kinds of pipes, and it's
Like if you fall
if
down
you
off this
step-
bridge,
yeah,
you
like,
die.
Why? Or they might as well be stationary, because like you're not going anywhere. There's
Yeah,
It doesn't
with
make
Kenny,
much sense.
going back to Kenny's original point, it could just be turrets. Like there was no need to build these mechs if they're not actually going to be running and moving. Yeah, so they could have just been turrets though. They did not need to be actual.
yeah,
because
because there really wasn't any room for them to walk around and use their mech. There was just a fucking bridge. It was like these really narrow fucking bridges.
Yeah,
With didn't even look like they had side rails or anything. Like you'd think
Yeah,
there'd be
and
some
if-
kind of side rail, but it's like
If they were
it's fucking-
turrets, they would have had some kind of face protection at least.
and
Yeah.
I think
Well,
reloading would have probably been easier too.
that middle
Yeah.
building had turrets on it. There was like that main middle building. There was
You
like
should
a
have
couple
basically
guns on
had
there.
like turret tanks,
Yes.
like turrets
Yeah,
on like
something like
treads, on the tank treads,
Yeah,
turrets.
I
Like,
like that.
would have been
One
awesome.
of my favorite visuals of the entire franchise is them just looking at this hole. You don't know what the fuck's really gonna come out of that hole, and there's like a beam of fucking metal tracer bullets just nailing that fucking hole, and then you start to see the metal rain down, and like you realize they're like kicking ass only for like a minute, but they're like
Yeah.
kicking ass, and all the squids are just raining down from the fucking
Mhm.
thing. And then I just love seeing the visual of like it's just looks like a laser beam of bullets. And then it was short but sweet. It was short but sweet.
Yeah, they
Yes.
they had
And
small
then-
victories.
It was a small victory, and then after that, it's just that's it.
Now, eventually,
No.
they get completely overrun by the robots. I mean, they just completely take over. And what's cool
Yeah,
about
like-
that is the second that they basically gain the upper hand on the humans, Neo has made it to the Machine City, and the Gerber baby appears. And the Gerber baby is what Kenny called it because the Sentinels.
Did you see it? It
It
had
did,
like
like-
such a Gerber baby face. Like its
Literally.
cheeks were
Yeah.
chubby.
Yeah,
Definitely a Gerber
I was like, why
baby.
does it have chubby cheeks?
yeah, it was random. But the Sentinels form into a face when they get to the Machine City. Neo and Trinity dies, but anyway, Neo gets to the Machine City, and Gerber baby comes out. He's like, "What do you want?" And Neo's just like, "Peace." And the
Peace.
second he says that, all the mechs in Zion, they just stop attacking. And so Morpheus is there and Niobe and everybody else. And they're like, what the fuck just happened? Why are they not killing us? And it's like, it's Neo. It's, you know,
Yeah.
because he believes in his prophecy and all this stuff. So as soon as that happens, like he made it.
It's
So they
also
know.
interesting to see how emotional, especially in this movie, how emotional the machines were. Earlier, we saw Agent Smith get emotional when he was talking to the Oracle.
Mhm.
And then here, with like the Machine City and I guess the Machine King or whatever,
Machine King.
Neo was like, you have a problem.
Yes.
Like Agent Smith is a program that like you aren't able to deal with anymore, and like I can solve it. And they're like, we don't fucking need your help.
Yeah.
Like they snap on him. He's like, oh, all right, if you don't need my help, then you can just kill me.
Because I think the whole basis of them is that they don't believe that humans could do anything better than they can. So
Yeah.
the idea that a human could fix a problem better than a machine is just the ultimate blasphemy to them, right? It throws a temper tantrum at the thought that only a human can solve the problem for you, even though it's true. And so the machine shuts the fuck up and jacks Neo into the Matrix. And they have, honestly, in all movies that I've ever seen, this is some of the best fight choreography I've seen. Like, it is actually fantastic.
This is a great fight.
It's like really well done, especially for the year that it came out. But I think that it still ages well, even still. Like, it's a really cool fight, and it has some Sephiroth like music going on. As soon as they get there,
I
it's
don't even
music
know.
was
If the
epic
year,
as
I don't
fuck.
even know if the year of it coming out could ever be a thing because there's some crazy shit back in the early '90s and late '80s and shit. Just it was mainly like the Chinese movies.
yeah,
Like when it comes to like the American movies, though, I'm fully with you. Like some of the American
Yeah.
fighting scenes are just dog shit. You know.
yeah. But like,
This movie
go
this
ahead.
movie goes ham on this final fight. Like it definitely
Yeah.
is like some anime fighting shit because they do like they do a blatant DBZ thing where they like fly in midair and they clash and it
Yes.
causes a
Yo,
pulse.
that's the exact part that I was
Oh,
thinking
man.
about because it's raining.
Bro,
It's
Yeah.
pouring raining when they're fighting. So every
cool.
time they clash, there is gigantic shockwaves of water that you see. And there's this one
Yeah.
really big clash that causes a water bubble that's fucking humongous to explode. It's like a little spirit bomb of water.
It's so fucking cool though because when all this is happening, there's like a central kind of Smith.
Yeah.
And like there's something really special about their feeling like there's one Smith to rule them all. And like
Yes, I
there
like
is
that
this
too.
really cool feeling of like, yeah, like it's like this is the actual Smith. The other ones, I'm sure they're just as good, but it's
Yeah,
like this is the
one.
man. Like this is the real
I even
Smith.
like when he first gets jacked into the Matrix and they show him walking down the street and there are just Smiths on the left and the right and it's pouring
Mhm.
raining
Oh,
and they are
man.
playing the music and you just know
Oh, dude, I got
it's-
chills when we watched it yesterday. I
Bro,
straight up got chills. I got
it's
fucking
like
chills.
the sound, the music, the
And the
sound of
music.
his steps in the puddles of water, and he gets there and they just start fighting and they immediately take flight. So, you know, you get to see Mr. Smith fly on top of Mr. Anderson flying. It's really cool.
When they go up, it's like there's some more like intelligent Smiths. They don't want to get wet. And when they're going up, you can see them looking out of the skyscrapers. Like the windows of the
Oh,
skyscrapers
yeah.
are just filled and they're just everywhere. They're inside the skyscrapers. They're fucking oh, I love
Yeah,
that feeling of
that's-
seeing them in the skyscrapers. You're like this, it's not just like a line of them outside. It's like
They're
they're
everywhere.
fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's taken
God,
over
such
the
a cool fucking
entire
scene, man.
world. The whole Matrix is under his control now. But he
The way
doesn't
they
wanna be
did
there.
that, I've seen like the making of that and all that shit on like the DVD extras. I remember like they fucking they made rubber mask of Hugo Weaving, the guy who plays Agent Smith.
Yeah.
They molded his fucking head and they put it on like there were a lot of like dummies and shit,
Yeah.
but a lot of fucking mask and there's like so
I
many
didn't know
fucking
that.
masks of that guy's head. Yeah, just over everybody.
That's actually a really cool way to do that.
It's really fucking crazy.
Yeah. The fight is amazing though. It is actually one of the, even still in 2023, I find the visuals of it to be just breathtaking. Like I really like watching the scene.
I want to say one more thing, by the way, because just before we did switch, I meant to say one more thing. When you guys were talking about like how emotional the robots and shit was on the Animatrix, you can like when you see how like the Matrix was first made, you really get a taste of you realize like that they have like emotions and thoughts and feelings and shit. You can really see like the origins of all that on the Animatrix.
Okay,
With,
well, one day
yeah,
we will definitely dive into the Animatrix. I've seen
yeah.
bits and pieces of it, but not enough to have a cohesive idea of what happened in it. And I think that it would just, put a nice little bow on this whole thing because, there's so much content for the Matrix apparently.
Yeah.
Yep. My
But,
bad, though. We were on the.
Yeah, I mean, it's an action sequence, so it's a really cool action sequence. But at the end of it, Smith gets the upper hand, and he pile drives from the sky. Neo.
He does
into
a
the
fucking
ground.
Charizard. Doesn't Charizard do a move like
Yeah,
that?
seismic toss.
Like a seismic toss. Yeah.
Yeah, he basically does that, and it's really. And Neo doesn't even fight it; he just lets it happen. And this is because Neo realizes, I guess, too, that he doesn't have to fight anymore. It's like. It's the kind of the Goku versus Frieza thing. I don't know if, of course, you remember, but when Goku fought Frieza, there's a point in that fight where he just stops fighting. Basically, he's like, "I've won. You can no longer beat me." And Frieza's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And Goku's just like, "Yeah, you can't beat me anymore. Like it's over. The fight's over." And then Goku just beats him. So it's kind of
call
the
it,
same
son.
vibe.
Call it. You know.
And it happens again. That trope was copied in Bleach too. There's a part where Ichigo fights against Grimjaw, and in the middle of the fight, when they're basically not even the middle, the climax of the fight, Ichigo literally says to Grimjaw, like, you can't hit me anymore. And Grimjaw's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then he proceeds to never hit him again. It's like, all right, well, I guess
There's like it's like a really sort of cocky, but also like it's so badass when it's like, well, this fight's over, and I'm gonna let you leave with your life. You know what I mean? Like we'll put it like that. Like you maybe if we stop fighting now, we could just forget about all this. You could go back to your normal life. You know.
But I like how Smith, he does have that Oracle moment where he can see the future. And he's like, I remember. It happened just like this. You were there and I was here and I said something. He's like, oh, yeah, that's right. I said everything that has a beginning has an end. And then Neo kind of starts finally looking at him with like a bit of a smirk. It's one of those things like, that's exactly right. And he's like, no, wait, that's not true. No. He's like, get back from, get away from me. And I'm like, what the hell is going on with this guy? He's having a psychotic break. He's like, get away from me. Like, bro, you're the one surrounding me with millions of copies of yourself. You get away from me. Like, oh, it's great. But he ends up absorbing Neo, and then Neo destroys him from the inside because the machines pump. I don't know what the fuck they do. They like pump energy into Neo, and it just kills all the Smiths. Basically, control delete. It overrides everything in process, and yeah, Smith is defeated. So after that, Neo, who gets wings, the plugs that they use to put him into the Matrix, the machines on the outside world, it looks like he actually has like angel wings. It's a really cool visual they show on his body when they're injecting the light into him. And after he beats Smith, it's kind of like, all right, the war's over. Neo won. Neo fan goes crazy. The little boy who's just like loves Neo.
The war is over.
Yeah. Everybody, we won. But I see no reason that outside of just machines being machines, there's no reason why the machines can't just be like, all right, well, he did our bidding and we could just kill all of you. And they actually address that.
Yeah, this is also a pretty cool scene. Like, this is like the last scene of the movie, basically.
The Matrix is restored to his normal form, so no more Smithville. It's just regular Earth again. And the Oracle's sitting on a park bench, and the architect comes up to her, the old white guy. He comes up to her, they have a conversation, and the architect is like, he's the head machine. And she says, what about all of the people? And he says, obviously they'll be free. And she says, I have your word on that. And he says, what do you think I am? Human? And he walks away. And I think that is like, that's such a perfect ending and bow to put on this whole thing. Because naturally, if I just saw Neo win and then die, I'd be like, all right, well, the machines will just now go to Zion and wipe out the humans and be like, all right, this is exactly what we wanted. We just used you for whatever. We lied to you. But instead, the machines are like, yeah, we're not humans. So we're not going to just say one thing and then do another.
Yeah, like it's almost like it's almost like the architect, like what he's now said he's going to do. It's like that gets written in code almost. Like this is now what I'm like.
And
this is
really
what I'm doing.
Architect, right?
Yeah, I mean,
He's awesome,
honestly,
dude.
that scene in Matrix 2 is my favorite scene in the entire series.
Really? Yeah.
Architect room?
It's really fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
That's my favorite scene in the entire series. And so that is one thing I wish I got a little. I would love to just get a little bit more of the architect talking shit and explaining and like talking about stuff. But yeah, that last scene with the architect and the Oracle was really fucking cool, and it was a really nice way to wrap it up. I think overall Matrix 3 is great, and I don't think it's the best one in the I don't think it's the best one of the three, but
It's definitely not
I think
bad.
out of the three, it's like if you have to rank them, I think it's in third place, right?
Yes.
But that does not mean it's bad. I think
What
it's
would you
a
put?
great.
What would you put first? First for you is Reloaded.
No, I think I probably like them in order. I think
Yeah,
I
I
like the
actually
first
think
one
so,
the
too.
most.
I think when I
Like
first
for me, it
asked
goes
you-
literally 1, 2, 3 is 1, 2, 3, and but the second movie has my favorite scene in all of the movies. But I think I like the Matrix 1 the most, and then 2, and then 3.
and then
But
Fraser,
all
what-
three of them are good. Like I enjoyed all three of them.
So for me,
Fraser, what was your-
it's probably the Matrix Reloaded first, because as a kid,
Yeah.
that's the one that I rewatched the most, because as a kid, I just liked
Same.
cool shit. So seeing Neo flying like that through those buildings, remember when he was carrying cars and debris and
Man.
glass, and like he just was doing the absolute most in Reloaded. He flew and captured Morpheus and everything and grabbed him through an explosion and twisted
That shit
up
was
into the sky.
wild.
Like everything that he was doing, and then even with Link on the comm saying that he's doing his Superman thing again, there was so many scenes, and two, also the battle of, I forget what you called it, but when all of the Smiths come out in the playground,
It's called the
Mhm.
Burly Brawl.
The
I think.
Burly
I don't know
Brawl,
why
like,
the fuck it's called that, but that's what it's called.
that fight scene to me is amazing. It's purpose that
It's
defines us.
great.
It's purpose that guides us. It's purpose that
I still get chills once again when because the music is like so fucking fitting, and
Yeah.
it's almost like horror again, and the camera's panning around in the circle, and it's like he just purpose that defines us, and then they're all saying it as they circle around him. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
yeah, because
I
you
get
don't
chills.
realize. In Matrix Reloaded, this is the first time you start seeing this crazy cloning thing that he's doing,
Yeah,
and
but you don't really know the extent of it until
you don't
that fight.
until they start pouring out.
then
You're like, holy
You're like, oh my god.
shit!
But I still get.
Mhm.
I remember, like, dude, somebody made a Newgrounds like animation. It was Mario versus Luigi, and they were fighting, and Luigi was Agent Smith, and there were like a million fucking Luigis. But
Oh,
like,
that sounds cool.
they came out maybe like 2004, and the animation was insane
I
for its
love
time. But I remember
Newgrounds.
watching.
There
Dude, I
was
remember
a
watching all that
Sonic
shit on
X
Newgrounds.
Mario show that I used to watch on Newgrounds.
Super Mario Bros. Z.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Super Mario Bros. Z. I
Yeah.
used to
Super Mario Bros.
love
Z
that.
is so
Me
god
and
tier.
Kenny used to watch it as kids all the time.
Yeah,
together.
I watched it over Kenny's house too. It was amazing. Like that is one of
Oh,
my
it's so
favorite
good.
things. But yes, so that's the end of the Matrix original trilogy. Now let's talk about the fucking dumpster fire.
I mean,
that
really,
is
really quick though. Mine would be 2-1-3.
2, 1, 3. That's mine
Yeah,
too.
Reloaded,
2, 1, 3.
Matrix 1, and 3.
I like the first one a lot, like I really do. But the second one, it's always the second movie where the budget goes up, where the act,
Yeah,
like
man.
anything that's cool
Like Terminator
about the first
2.
one.
Terminator 2 destroys Terminator 1.
Yeah,
in my
terms of-
opinion.
in terms of that, yes.
Um,
But I totally understand liking one more, because one does have all of the good lore as far as how the Matrix works and stuff like that, and just the mysticism about it. It's all there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the first one is all this mysticism, like what am I watching, and exploring that. And then the
It's
second one
nuts.
is like, let's expand on what you already know. Like, you know what the Matrix is in the second one, right? And let's expand upon it. And then the third one is like, now let's look at Zion and the wars to come, and let's put a bow on this thing. So I think it's really well done. Like Kenny said, I don't think that just because the third movie is it's not the best one out of the three or anything, it's the third ranked one, that doesn't mean that it's bad though, right? Like if you're saying
I still like on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's literally has like a 30%, which I think is pure
fucking wild.
yeah,
cool guy shit. Like it's just
'Cause that
pure.
would tell
I'm
me that I
really
would-
cool.
I would never watch it again if it so that score to me, if I told somebody that something had a 30 out of 100, right? That's saying that this movie is unwatchable and you should only watch it once to laugh at it, and you should never watch it
Yeah, and you would
again.
never ever watch it again.
Like,
This is
Yeah.
going to be a
voluntarily.
recurring
Lost
theme,
it.
guys. Anybody listening, this is going to be a recurring theme because me, Kenny, and Fraser, we believe we're in the Matrix right now. And so that 30%, and then the Matrix 4 has maybe like a 63%.
No,
So
Matrix 4, not only that, Matrix 4 has a 63% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it also did the most Matrix shit ever. It has a 63% for both the critics and the audience. The
Yeah.
audience and the critics gave it the exact same score.
But that's
which
why
is
the score is the same, because
insane.
it's the Matrix is glitching. That's why it's the same number. It's
I
just-
will give Matrix 4 credit in that it successfully put us in the Matrix. Like it made
Yeah.
us feel like we
Oh,
were
yeah,
in the
100%.
Matrix.
Like,
It's
we were
such
just
a
in the
bad
tube.
movie.
Like we're just in the tube. We're just like two babies just tubing around in there. You know what I mean?
Babies.
Dude, it's Matrix 4 is
So let's just talk about it.
It's
Because
special.
we're here
Yeah.
now. I mean, we're here.
we're here.
So
Yeah, fuck it.
the movie's awful, and there are a couple things that make it really bad, because I don't like calling things bad without explaining myself. And so we'll all shit on it in various ways. But one of the main things that makes it one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And I'm not kidding when I say that. I mean, literally top 10 worst movies I've ever seen in my life. No cap. One of the things about it is the casting that they did for Morpheus and Agent Smith. So they recasted Morpheus and Agent Smith as two different people.
Two of the best characters, like
two of the most iconic characters from the original trilogy.
Like
so
staple characters.
Yes, they recasted two of the staple characters, and the recasts are really bad. So let's just the guy that they cast to be Morpheus, he's actually in a lot of movies. He's Candyman. He's
I like the actor.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Can't do a Morpheus.
I like the actor. Life. He cannot do Morpheus, not even a little bit, right? Like he's actually cringe as Morpheus, and I feel like his character should have just been called something different because he doesn't actually act.
I don't know if it's the script or what.
He doesn't act like Morpheus though.
Well,
like,
that's really something. Doesn't. So that's the other thing is like you watch this movie, you're saying that the recast. First of all, not necessarily relevant to the movie, but they didn't even ask Lawrence Fishburne to be in the movie, right? Yeah, like they could have they probably could have just got him to be Morpheus again, right? Like there's really no reason why they couldn't. So anyway, and also he's like a magic Morpheus because in the movie Morpheus is dead, so it's not really Morpheus. It's like this code magic Morpheus, right? But this is kind of the worst part about it is that it is a Morpheus that was created by Neo. Neo, when we get to how bad this is, Neo like creates essentially an agent Morpheus to help like free him from a thing. Why the fuck is that Neo's perception of Morpheus?
Yeah.
Like why is Neo's perception of Morpheus this young, hip, like super young version of Morpheus, way younger than when he met him, and like
that Morpheus and wearing wear like, colors like that,
colorful clothes, and just being like, "Hey, oh man, look at this! It's really happening!" Like
he had a yellow suit on at one point. I'm like, Morpheus does not wear. That's just not his style.
Yeah, Morpheus is still he can be snazzy, but
yeah,
he wasn't Morpheus.
It was a little too much. Yeah, like Morpheus is a little more reserved. He wears like dark purples.
Act like Morpheus ever. Like at no point did he do a thing that the only time he did anything Morpheus like is when they showed us fucking flashbacks of old movies and then he just talked over them. Like Morpheus, and then he talked over the but whenever he said a thing on his own, he wasn't Morpheus. It was so bad.
And then the most egregious casting is just the new Agent Smith. So they casted some fucking snowflake guy to be Agent Smith, and he embodies zero things about actual Agent Smith. Like everything about this guy is cringe. The very first time you see him and he starts talking like it's like somebody doing a bad mimicry of the actual person. It's like somebody doing a like an audition and failing miserably. And you're like, all right, don't call us, we'll call you. But then somehow he got the job. Like
don't call us, we'll call you.
It doesn't give that was like a bad audition tape. And then it's like instead of saying don't call us, we'll call you, he actually gets a call back. And I don't really understand why, because nothing about this guy is intimidating. In fact, I feel like the movie low-key pokes a joke at itself when he gets into a fight with Neo and he's like, I'm the perfect version of Smith. And do you think they went a little overboard with the deep blue eyes? And I'm like, well, yeah, yes.
Man,
like he kind of says it, and it's just like, okay, so you guys are aware that this guy looks fucking ridiculous being Agent Smith, right? Like you're aware because
hold on, I feel like before we get to this, though, I'm not trying to cut you off, but like before we get to this, we should at least mention how the entire like fucking first hour of this movie is basically them like talking about how the Matrix 1 through 3 is a fucking video game. And
yeah, I mean, I was just going into the casting because that, like, it doesn't matter what order we talk about because we're not going like start to finish scene by scene for this movie.
I gotcha.
We're going to literally jump around and go from thing to thing. But I was just talking about the casting is like the fucking most egregious thing about this movie to me is that
it's rough. It's
not
so
just
rough.
The casting, it's the script they give him because you have Agent Smith who's now a college kid, and he's like during the shitty video game part. There's and like when everything kind of collapsed, whatever. But there's a part where he's like, Mr. Anderson. He says it like once.
Dude, it's when it's like when they're in the game studio and like the sparklers, not sparklers, what are those things called? The sprinklers are putting out the fire or whatever, gunshots, and he goes, Mr. Anderson, and it's like, what horrible. The fuck? It sounds like almost like a South Park character.
For the rest of the movie, whenever we see him, because he's not in much of the movie.
Yeah, thank God.
But whenever you see him, he's now cool and hip, and he doesn't call him Mr. Anderson. He calls, listen, Tom, how you doing, Tom?
The way I'm gonna be honest, so I'm allowed to say this. This guy sounds so fucking gay. Like I don't know how else to put it. This
He
guy
is like a business casual.
Hey,
outfit.
Tom.
I hate this guy so much. Like he has a punchable face. And
Let me say
he-
this.
Oh god, it's cringe.
Forgot that Neo's name was Tom because
Me too. Kenny.
I
me
legitimately,
too.
Yeah,
Matrix
Anderson.
1 through 3, I forgot his name was Tom and Thomas. I knew his last name was Anderson. I knew his name was Neo, but I knew Neo wasn't his real name. I did not remember. And then in this movie, hey, Tom, how you doing, Tom? I was like, what the fuck, man? It was so cringy.
Yes.
It was like, hey Tony, remember? Hey Tony,
That's an in there reference. I don't have time to
It's a
explain
little
all
in
that.
there, yeah, no,
Yeah.
explaining it.
I,
But man, just it was like he's wearing like this fucking business casual sort of fucking like it's just a douchey outfit.
He looked like
that he
fucking
has
like
on.
Mark Zuckerberg or like
He-
or like
yeah, like
Steve
it's like a-
Jobs, like
Like a fucking
young
Elon Musk
Jobs, like
clothes going.
Yeah, they changed. Not so. I have so many problems. So they changed Morpheus and they changed Mr. Smith, Agent Smith, right? They changed those characters. They recasted them, but then they also
Yeah.
just don't capture the essence of them. So it'd be one thing if they had different people play them as younger versions, but then make them wear the same clothes that the originals wore, because that would at least give you some semblance of what they're trying to do. But then to have them just dress in these completely new hip clothes doesn't fit. It just feels bad. Like the yellow
just
suit
not
on
act
Morpheus
like
and
the
the
people
navy,
they are.
yeah, and the navy blue suit that Mr. Smith is wearing the entire movie. Like I just don't get in the glasses. So everyone knows the iconic Matrix glasses that Agent Smith always wears. For some reason, he just has on like fucking Ray-Bans in this movie, and they're like blue frames and blue actual lens
You're
Ray-Bans
talking
and
about with the
stuff.
fucking thing going through. There's like a piece of metal that goes across.
No, I'm talking about the
No,
actual,
no.
like his actual glass. He had on blue glasses at one point, like actual the color blue.
Oh,
Yeah,
right,
and
right,
they
right.
like drew attention to it too. There's a scene where he goes to put the glasses on, and he's like woo, and he like puts them on woohoo,
Yes.
and he puts them
Oh,
on,
God.
and like they're just these fucking June ass glasses.
It's just like, what is
And,
going on?
It's supposed to like
It's bad.
call a reference, and that's the thing about this movie is, and this is what Cheyenne was saying, the first hour and a half of this movie, it does
Yeah.
two really weird things. First of all,
It's really meta.
it's super meta. First, you see like they're in the Matrix. There's this girl named Bugs who, and she does this other stuff, and then she finds Thomas Anderson's apartment, and she finds young Morpheus, and he's an agent, and all this stuff happens. And then the movie goes to Neo on a computer, and you find out he's a game developer, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then you find out like some guy says, dude, Matrix 1 through 3, best video game ever, changed my life.
Yep.
And then you find out Matrix 1 through 3 was a video game, and this guy Thomas Anderson made the games and everything. And this is all happening.
This is like
and
the first like 10 minutes of the movie, and you're like, what the fuck is going on?
And-
And there's like he has like figures of Morpheus on his desk.
yeah. And
It's
you have
like,
two
it's
thoughts. Your
so
thoughts are
bad.
either A, is this really what's happening? And the first 3 movies I watched weren't real and they were
Right.
video games. Or B, is he in the Matrix right now?
Right.
Spoiler, yeah, he was in the Matrix, but
Thank
that
God.
doesn't solve the problem because they spend the
You say,
first
"Thank God,
hour.
Fraser."
Yeah,
they
because
spend the
imagine if that was actually how they
man,
retconned.
no. Oh,
Imagine
it'd
them
be even worse.
retconning the entire franchise and being like, that
Trilogy.
was a video game that he
Yeah,
made
him
up.
being in the Matrix, even though it's still stupid,
still
whatever
awful.
it was, it's still awful. But if God damn it, if it was what Kenny just said, where it wasn't even real,
Well, that's what they tried to. That's
oh.
what the movie tried to do to us. The movie
That's-
did that.
That's what the movie tried. And that's the thing. The first hour and a half of the runtime is so bad because that first hour and a half, not only that, they're having executive meetings and stuff.
So the movie, dude,
like,
real quick,
we've gotta make-
long as fuck. The movie's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. So
Look, we've got to
it's a
make.
little bit under the first hour when he finally gets out of the Matrix, but it's about an hour long. Of
They
just
spend the first fucking hour
bullshit.
talking about, because what happens is like Thomas Anderson doesn't want to make Matrix 4. He doesn't want to make the next video game.
Yeah, yeah.
And his company is like, we're making Matrix 4, whether you like it or not. And he's like, he doesn't want to.
His
And
boss being
we end
Agent
up
Smith.
seeing these meetings, and they're talking about making the Matrix 4. And you very much get the feel this is what making this movie
Right.
was. It was people talking
So
about how they're
stupid, dude.
making the Matrix 4 and how it's got to be new and different and hip
Yeah,
and cool.
yeah, and like,
And,
yeah,
like,
and it's literally
what
like
did-
the meeting.
What
yeah.
did the Matrix
Like-
mean? And one guy saying, I didn't really like the Matrix. We need to just have guns and shit. And like, that's what people think is cool. Other like it was literally just a really the first hour was them showing us
It's
how
so
they
meta,
made the
man.
movie, and it was so
It's
fucking
one of the most
corny.
meta fucking movies I've ever seen. Next to like maybe adaptation, like Scream it's really cringy as well. Like every fucking Scream movie has a point in the Scream movie where they go, "Let's talk about the rules of being in a horror
Yeah.
movie." It's
Yep.
so cringy,
They do it in
dude.
all the
They're
new
like,
ones, and I'm not sure
every
why.
single, and they even do it in they even do it in the new ones. They've done it in every single movie.
Yeah,
Go,
that is
well,
so bad.
if you're a virgin, that means you're safer than if you have sex and the killer won't get you. And it's like every single, like the first time they ever did it, I was like, on Scream 1, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like I get what's happening here.
Right.
And like on Scream 6, I'm like literally just like fucking like it's so fucking bad. And like that, yeah, the Matrix just does this so heavy-handed, man. So fucking heavy-handed.
Yeah, they do this thing where they, no offense to people that are cucks, but they do this thing where they make Neo a cuck. And by the way, it doesn't end when he leaves the Matrix. He's a cuck the entire movie. They cuck his powers away. They cuck his love life away. They everything gets cucked away from him. Neo does nothing this whole fucking movie. He's absolute trash.
Yeah, you could tell. You
This
could tell
whole
it's sort
fucking
of like
movie. He's garbage. He's
I
not.
hate. I never want to. I never want to
He's
call
straight
Neo a cuck.
garbage.
I never want to call him a cuck. But like
Well-
they do this thing where it's like this isn't your grandma's Matrix. These women are kicking ass, and it's more like how cuckified can we make Neo with him? He basically doesn't really do anything. He kind of just gets his ass kicked. He occasionally does like a psychic key blast and pushes.
He does
people
nothing
back.
the whole movie. Like
He
literally
blocks a
nothing.
couple bullets,
Yeah.
but like he doesn't really get to do anything in the movie.
There's a
It's,
part in the
like,
movie where they
not
say like,
painful.
well,
It's like,
Warner Brothers wants us to make the next game, so we have to make it. And then that makes you, it's like more meta, like, oh, Warner Brothers owns this, cool. And then there's a part,
man.
earlier
Oh,
I
I
mentioned
know,
there's
okay.
a character named Bugs.
Well, yeah,
And
the girl
then
named
she
Bugs, right?
reveals that like she's
name
like,
is
oh, my
Bugs
name's
Bunny.
Bugs, like Bugs Bunny. And then it's like, oh, okay, cool, I guess. And then they try to play on that in Matrix
Kenny,
1.
Kenny, let's do the thing. So there's like
Oh, no,
an
wait,
operating-
hold on, wait, stop. I'm not there yet. There's a part in
All right.
Matrix 1 where Neo has to follow the White Rabbit. And they're like, follow the White Rabbit or whatever. Kind of like Alice in Wonderland kind of shit.
Yes.
And then so in this movie, it's like the whole reason why her name's Bugs Bunny or whatever is she can't convince Neo to whatever, and she's like, and then she shows Neo a tattoo she has, and it's a white rabbit going with the fact that her name's Bugs Bunny. That's the whole play on it. There's a rabbit on her, and then he's like, okay, I'll follow you because you have a fucking rabbit tattoo. And then whatever happens, he wakes up in the Matrix, he's in the operating room, and he's on an operating table.
I'll be the surgeon, Kenny. This is looking real bad.
What's up, Doc?
No, it's I don't know. I'm fixing him up right now. And then so they like snuck that in.
They sneak in
if,
the
like-
character named Bugs Bunny saying "What's up, Doc?" and it's as soon
I
as
actually-
it happened,
it went over my head.
I was
It went
like,
over
"Oh my
Same.
god, this is so
I didn't
corny."
even catch it.
So that was like, so it was basically to like the surgery.
I
Hey, what's up,
was
Doc?
like
and then
insta cringe. I was like, "What the
I
and
fuck?"
then when Kenny said
Insta
it, I was like, immediately, I was just like
Another strike. Another fucking strike.
it was just like this internal like cringe thing.
Yeah.
And
So-
it was my
oh,
third
God.
time seeing it, and I didn't pick up on
There's
it.
another thing about this movie
Um,
that I really think is bad. So we've been talking about the plot a little bit, but I have to bring up the fact that they used a lot of pretentious ass vocabulary in this movie. They were calling things modal. They were using something called a DSI.
just gibberish.
Your digital self-image. Like, bro, just call it his profile pic and go. Like, what are
Well,
we
the
doing?
digital self-image, to be fair though, they mentioned it the first time, like I guess they're in the construct on Matrix 1.
I
They talk
understand,
with the hair and shit, how you
but
get
they
your hair
keep
back.
on throwing out the terms. They
Oh,
don't
just-
use the terms
Yeah,
over
because it's
and
not
over.
just
Like,
right.
they
It's
just
not
kept
just
on being like,
one
you're modal.
time.
Yeah, you're modal
It's
this,
just
you're
all
modal
of it's
that.
like your DSI is your modal of the conflibius of your
And then
foot
they
part, and
had
it's like
machines that were on their side as allies, and Neo's like, the machines are working for us now, and they're like, yeah, these are called synthients, though. They prefer that name, and the machines are like,
Yeah, it's like this
like
is
cute little
Sabebe,
buddies.
and it's
Yeah.
like they have these names. Like this is Sabebe, and then the spelling was also. There's one that's name is Luminate, and it's spelled Lumi the number 8.
yes,
It's like
literally
it's
that.
like- I was like, what the fuck?
I just hate everything about it.
It was, and then we haven't talked about this yet. This is also an absurd, like, once again, the movie being meta. The first hour was them trying to like show, like, it was just really corny. It was like, this is how the Matrix 4 was made, and this is what the Matrix means, and this is the discussions that the world has about the Matrix that makes you think you're in the Matrix. They did this other thing where, hey, you know what was really popular on the internet for the last 20 years? The fucking red pill, blue pill meme.
Oh,
where you see the two hands and there's two pills.
My God.
And it's like, do you take the red pill and that means you like Nintendo? Or do you take the blue pill and that means you like Sonic? And it's like, whatever. And are you fucking Andrew Tate? Who are you? Do you like COVID or do you like whatever?
Oh my God.
And they did that. They did that no less than 7 times.
They take the fucking pill meme and then throughout the whole, because they know now the internet loves the pills.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole fucking movie, they're like, hey, by the way, some pills. Hey, did you see this pill? It's blue. Oh, there's a red pill. Oh, you want to make the decision now? Here's the decision. It's like, how many fucking times do I got to see these pills?
Yeah, it was just once again just hammered over the fucking head.
We also haven't talked about the fact that the movie is a rescript of Matrix 1, but really bad.
That too. That's also annoying.
It's just a really bad rescript of Matrix 1.
The Force Awakens did the same thing, but it did it well. So Star Wars 7 is actually a pretty decent movie. And it's a copy of an old Star Wars movie, right? Like it's a copy of, what is that? A New Hope or whatever, or not New Hope, but Return of the Jedi.
It's called.
Is it Return of the Jedi?
I think
no,
it's
New Hope. A New Hope. New Hope is it's a remake of A New Hope.
Okay, I was make sure I'm not remembering this incorrectly. All right, so it's a copy of A New Hope, and it's actually pretty well done. Like actually, it has a lot of the same scenes, but with the new characters, and they do a good job. However, in this new Matrix movie, they do a reskin of a lot of the iconic scenes from the original, including down to stuff like when the helicopters are shooting their Gatling guns, you see the bullets falling from the sky like you did in the very first Matrix when that was happening. And they do the exact same thing like that. But then when they copy certain things, they copy the Morpheus versus Neo training sequence again. But I don't know if Keanu Reeves has gotten awful at martial arts or if the new...
I promise you he hasn't, only because if you watch all the John Wick movies, he's the fucking man.
So something about the choreography, whoever they paid to do the fight choreography in the new Matrix could not be the same person from the
I think it was like the OG dude.
Here's the answer.
No way, bro. It looks awful now.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's saying he doesn't think it's him, but here's the answer.
It wasn't him. Yeah,
The answer is this. It's not that Keanu Reeves is bad at acting. Well, he is a bad actor, but it's not that he's bad at doing his stunts or anything like that. It's not that he got too old. It's that one of the missions of this movie was to make you not like Neo. I truly believe a mission of this movie was to make Neo fucking corny, because throughout the entire movie, Neo does nothing. He's almost a liability throughout the movie. He's not cool. He doesn't do it. He doesn't do any one shit. Even
when they ask him, can he fly, and he goes to fly, he can't even do it.
And he can't do it. And it's like, did you forget that the Matrix is a spoon or whatever? Like it wasn't that hard. Once you because it's one of those things where it's like, it's like you don't forget how to ride a bike. Like once you ride a bike, you don't ever have to think about it. You just get on a bike and all of a sudden the bike doesn't fall over. You don't feel like
a decade, and I could ride a bike right now.
Yeah, like you don't feel like you're doing anything different. When you get on a bike, you can just ride it. And there was one day when you couldn't, and I feel like and that's how like understanding things works. Once you understand something, you understand it.
Correct.
So his understanding of the Matrix, once he understood it and once he woke back up, nothing should have changed. Like he should have been able to just fly, but he couldn't. And they made him a joke. And like his two biggest fights, I feel like two big fights he had, other than the huge action sequence when he was with Trinity, when he fought Morpheus in the training sequence, and then when he fought Agent Smith, it was literally just he gets his ass kicked for 10 minutes, and then he's on his knees, and then he puts his hands out and shoots a key blast, and that's the end of the fight. Like it is both times. It is the two of the exact same fights in the same movie, and it's Neo does Morpheus nothing
as well.
Yes, that's how he ends the Morpheus fight.
He blows up a house, like the little hut that they're in on the water.
Oh,
he like
right.
I
forgot about that. Right.
But that was the trailer for this movie that made it seem like it was going to be cool. Like there were a lot of cool things they showed in the trailer, but then when you actually watch the movie, it's funny how all of those cool things you saw, when you see them in context, they're awful.
They're awful. Yeah, it's really bad. Like I truly think one of the goals of this movie was to like almost downgrade Neo,
so
to make you not like
they
Neo.
Could raise, spoiler alert, they could raise up Trinity, who is now the one in this movie. She actually has the power of the one. She can fly, she can stop bullets, she can alter reality. In fact, she's doing shit that I don't recall him doing. She's snapping right? Like she'll punch somebody in the face and their entire jaw will dislocate and she'll snap and it'll be back to perfect again.
Yeah, she cut
which by the way, she goes like the jaw will dislocate in the very beginning of the movie. She's like, sometimes I wish I could just kick somebody's jaw off.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
and
it was
she
like
kicks someone's
that whole
jaw
thing.
off, and then
Yeah.
she like slices someone's throat, and then she snaps her fingers, and then he's like back alive again, and it's like okay, like
Which,
you're,
by the way,
you're
so we talked about how the first hour of the movie is basically just complete filler. Trinity doesn't. The movie's 2 hours, is like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. Trinity doesn't do a goddamn thing until 2 hours into the movie. So she's basically
and when
she's
she
in the
does do
fucking
stuff,
movie.
she's the one.
Yeah, but she has about like a 20-minute window of doing something that she should have been doing the whole fucking movie, which is like, how did you fuck this up?
Yeah.
You had Trinity, she doesn't do a fucking thing until the last
And then
20 minutes.
They take another really cringy thing. We were praising the Matrix actually, and how they essentially created the term and the effect bullet time. Like Matrix,
Oh no.
Matrix is responsible for like what bullet time is basically, and this movie even takes that and bastardizes it. There's a part where he's like, "We got this idea from you. We decided we're really cool and we can do bullet time.
That's
Isn't it cool that we
basically a
have
direct
bullet
quote, by the
time?"
way. That's not even like him doing a fucking thing, like a bit.
Yeah,
He's
it's
actually
about
that's a quote.
Yeah.
We learned
And-
this from you. We call this bullet time. Like everything, like that is a quote. That is a cringe ass quote straight from the movie.
And it's just him like controlling bullet time and like just being broken or whatever. And it's just really corny because they take a real life thing that
breaking
happened.
the fourth wall. So
Yeah,
fucking
they
hard.
take a real life thing that happened, the franchise creating this thing called bullet time that ends up becoming impactful throughout the movie industry, and they bastardize it and almost make it fucking cheesy.
Yeah.
Like it's so weird because like this is the fourth movie in this franchise, and I feel like they spend the whole movie making fun of the Matrix.
Yeah, like I was gonna say, like that's pretty much what I think it is. Like I pretty much think it's a Matrix movie to like hit on the people that like the Matrix, and I think like if like it's almost like a fucking like an anti-Matrix, and I think like
it is very
once again,
anti.
this is really sweeping, and I'm gonna sound a bit like a dick, but I kind of think, like I truly kind of believe, if you've seen Matrix 1 through 3 and you like this new movie, I kind of think you're a pretentious douche.
I agree with you 100%.
I mean, it sounds
like
like it sounds mean. It sounds like I'm
no,
being
but I agree. I feel like if you
kinda have to be
genuinely
a pretentious, like movie snob, art house douche, you're like, you just don't get the high concept of Matrix.
Yeah.
You don't get it.
yeah,
Like,
I
it's
totally
kinda
agree
like
with you.
that. Like,
You're a faggot if you like
it's
this.
above your head. I want to say that so bad, but I can't. But
That's basically what it is. Like I'm just gonna say it. I'm just
say
gonna
one
say
more
it.
time for me. One more time for
I
me.
mean, I feel like if you really like the Matrix 4, you're a faggot. Period.
Oh, it's like music. To
I
my
feel
ears.
like that is the
What?
best way to describe people
Just
who like this
douchey.
movie.
You're just a douche. You're like watch like fucking indie art house movies, and you're like, you just wouldn't get it. Like the
I honestly-
artsiest of A24. Like that's
I couldn't
like
believe
what
how
this
bad
movie
it was because I knew going into it, just because I've never heard a good thing about the movie. Everybody,
Yeah, me
that
and
I've
Cheyenne
ever
made
talked
sure
to,
that you knew and everyone
Yeah,
else
we-
knew that
Yeah,
this
so-
movie
my bad.
was
My
bad.
memory is that of a goldfish. Did you see it in theaters or not? My bad.
I
think
did.
asked,
I did see it in
okay,
theaters.
okay.
Bro,
So-
this is what you know. The Matrix is one of my favorite franchises, right?
Yeah.
So, like,
Oh yeah. Same man.
I
Same.
was excited about this movie.
Frazier, next Matrix. Let's see it together.
Look, I'm
Well, all
down.
of us. Fuck it. We'll bring Kenny. We'll
bad
bring
movie
everybody.
night.
Let's
It
go.
will be
yeah,
a bad movie night.
We'll see it in theaters together. Yeah, that'll be.
wait,
fun,
is there confirmation
No,
they're making
no,
another?
no.
one?
there's
but
not.
in like 10 years we'll watch.
They'll
it.
probably
We'll be
be
all
done.
in our 40s.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, no, this movie, I was shocked. Even though I knew it was horrible, I
You
didn't
had to
know
see it for
how.
yourself, and you were like,
Yeah,
"Holy
I
shit!"
didn't know
it's
what
actually-
direction it was going to go in. Like, so I didn't go into the movie thinking like, "Oh, my friends are wrong." I knew the movie was going to be bad. I had full faith that Cheyenne and Fraser weren't lying to me. I knew the
Yes.
movie was going to be bad. So it's not that I was shocked that it was bad.
Yeah.
I was shocked at how bad it was and the direction of bad it was. Because like, it's not just that it was bad. I wasn't ready for it to make fun of the
Itself.
like. I wasn't ready for
Yeah.
it. It's because it's
Deconstructs
almost like
all of it.
it's almost like Matrix 4 was saying, this is a really good movie. Look how bad Matrix 1
Yes,
through 3 is.
it kind of gave that vibe. Also, scary movie parody vibe.
Yeah, like,
Like,
Yeah,
like how
yeah,
Scary
well,
Movie
crazy.
is a
Scary Movie,
parody
yeah.
of Scream, right? Like it's a parody of Scream and a
Yeah,
haunted
yeah.
house and all these other movies that you know. This kind of seemed like a parody of The Matrix.
I think
really did.
people are gonna look back like those like artsy douches. They're gonna look back and be like, "It's." I think this movie could become a cult classic, and people are gonna be like, "It's the best Matrix." Like I could
Yeah,
see this.
I could see
become
that
one,
yeah,
being a
which
thing.
I could see.
But everyone that does that, once again, they're a fucking douche. Like
the fact that its
sorry,
score
like,
is so high, 63% is not a great score.
It's not great, but it's also not where it should be.
but it's
the fact
above
that-
Matrix 3.
The fact that Matrix 3 is like a 30% and this has a 63% is fucking crazy.
Which, once again, if you lay in bed when you're falling asleep, you know that feeling when you're falling asleep and you feel like you're about to walk off a cliff or something?
Yep.
You could probably feel the plug in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Like if you focus
like
hard
I'm in
enough,
the
you,
Matrix.
it was a bad dream.
Because this
but I'm
isn't
also in
real.
the Matrix. Oh my god!
This
Because we're not
score-
in reality.
The
We're not in
audience
fucking
score
reality.
and the critic score being 63% in tandem is actually the wildest shit I've ever seen. I was genuinely shocked yesterday when we pulled up the scores, and that was what it was.
I
Yeah,
think
it confused Fraser for a second. Fraser was saying, he was like because before we watched the movie, I looked up the audience. I looked up the Rotten Tomato score because I just wanted to, and then I posted it in chat, and I was like, guys, it's 30 points higher than the Matrix 3. This is fucking crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't.
And then Fraser said after the movie, he was like, when I saw that the score was 63%, I started to think to myself, maybe it wasn't as bad as I remember.
Yeah, you
And
start
now
to
that I
second
watched
guess
it,
yourself.
yeah. And then you watched, you were like, oh no, it's fucking horrible.
Yeah, it's like worse than you remember.
Yeah, actually, it actually was. Like what they did to the
like-
Merovingian is a crime.
Dude, he's not even a character. He's like a crazy fucking homeless guy who babbles in French. It's
Yeah,
like, what are we gonna get this explained? Why is he
Also-
wearing newspaper?
it's low
What the
key racist
fuck?
what they did to the Merovingian. If I'm being honest, like
Also,
just
the
having him
analyst-
spout nonsense in French like that, I would have been like, bro, this is low key a racist ass script.
The analyst being the replacement for the architect is a fucking crime.
Yeah.
Like it was so
And who's that
corny.
actor again? Not Neil.
Neil
Patrick Harris?
or something like
Yeah,
that?
it's Neil
Yeah.
Patrick Harris who's playing the new architect guy who's called the analyst,
Yeah.
and he is cringe in this movie. He's just terrible for this role.
I real quick though, I think once again, and this isn't a universe that we're not in. I think if it was even like the Matrix 1 and that character could have been somehow interesting because like it's your therapist.
No,
and
yeah.
he's actually trying to keep you in the Matrix. Like I think
Yeah.
somewhere, don't get me wrong,
There's
the script was horrible
ideas
and it
in
fucked
the-
it up.
there's
I think
ideas
the
in this
idea
movie
for that could have been
that are good. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
ideas in this movie that are good. All of the
The
most of
execution.
the ideas are horrible.
Yes,
And of the good ideas, all of the execution is also horrible.
also that.
Right.
Like the idea of the exiles, that's a cool concept. The way they execute it are just like these zombie people who come out of like these people wouldn't exist in because the Matrix is supposed to be Earth that we live in right now, right? Like if you're listening to this podcast, the Matrix is essentially this world. This is the Matrix. So
Right.
these fucking exiles are like people wearing the fucking YMCA, like they're wearing the clothes like the village people, and they come out with spears
Samurai
and shit.
zombies. They're like
Yeah, they
samurai
come out and they
zombies.
just
Like,
and the
what fuck
Merovingians
is
on
going
top
on?
of a balcony just yelling down profanity in French and just all kinds of wild shit. And every once in a while he says something profound. Then he goes back to just saying nothing. It's like, what happened?
I
What
remember
could have
being
happened?
So bummed. I remember being excited when I first saw him. I was like, I don't know how he looks, but I'm so excited. And then once he kind of finishes his babble, and they even like talk him off. Like I think it's Bugs at the very end of that whole fight. She's like, yeah, no, he's kind of just like nuts. All right, let's keep moving on. Like they just
I know,
kinda,
you know that actor's from in Game of Thrones? Bugs' actor.
Oh, really?
She's one of the Sand Snakes.
Oh, no wonder. So she's cringe in every role.
Yeah, she was in this movie called The Gray Man that came out recently, and I watched that last night too because I was like, you know what, fuck it, I want to watch another movie. Ooh, that was a bad movie too.
So she has some really bad casting and probably
Damn.
typecasted as a.
bad.
She's
you need a-
cute.
She is.
Oh,
If you need a-
She's cute as fuck.
If you need a
I
cringe
think-
character, she's gonna be the best for it because the Sand
Be your
Snakes were
best bet.
awful.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Outside of like how good they looked.
Yeah, they were beautiful. That's the thing. I think even her character, there was moments where I was like, there was moments in the movie where I was like, I don't mind her character. And I think once again, just like how you said with the analyst, I think with a better script and like I think that character could have worked.
Like I
in
like the
a better
idea of her
movie.
being the window washer, and she like saw Neo was going to jump off the thing. Like I actually, I really like the idea of her being a window washer and her coming to the realization that she's in the Matrix. I think it's
Yeah.
a cool idea.
I like how they show Neo looking down at her too.
Yeah,
it was,
The
it was
one scene
cool.
where he's all Jesus like and he's looking down. That scene is actually really
Yeah, it's
cool.
super cool.
And the music that they play when he's having his Matrix montage is also really good. It's like the theme of the Matrix 4, which made
Yeah,
me think that the movie
fucking-
was going to be good.
that song is actually just straight up legit.
Every time I watched the
actually
trailer for this
really
movie,
like
I
it.
thought this movie was going to be good because of that song, because of the certain scenes they selected out of context, which is what trailers are anyway. But It just all panned out.
Yeah.
So
It's crazy
bad.
because I do remember before the movie coming, because I didn't even know the movie was coming. And I remember, and you could probably find old podcast episodes, but I remember Fraser telling me like The Matrix 4 is coming out.
Yes, I was excited.
And then he was super excited. He's like, I want to go see it in theaters.
We had
and
No
he was,
Way Home and The Matrix in the same like month
Yeah.
period. In the same
Oh,
30 days,
wow.
those two came
and
out
Fraser
together.
was like, he was like, you got to see it in theaters because like I want to do a podcast on it and stuff. And I was like, I'll see what I can do. And then
I'll see what I can do.
man, did you make a good decision with that one?
because I didn't even know the movie was coming until Fraser told me, and I
Yes.
kind of was like, I can't imagine it's going to be good, but it. So
And
I
he's
kind
just
of
like,
waited.
No
My-
promises, Fraser.
My plan, no, but my plan was to wait. If Fraser came back to me and was like, "Did you see The Matrix yet? It's fucking," and like, if Fraser came back to me and was like, "You got to see it,"
Yes.
I would have went out and seen it, and we would have did a podcast on it. But Fraser came back to me and was like, "That movie was fucking horrible."
One of
and I was like, "Okay,
literally
cool. I don't
one
gotta go
of
see
the
it."
worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. In 2021, when I
Yeah.
saw it first week, I was like, "This is actually not kidding." Snow White and the Huntsman bad. The
You know what's funny? I actually don't think it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Don't get me wrong. I think it's
You've probably
awful.
seen a lot
It's
of terrible
really
movies. then.
bad. I've seen some real bad.
You must have
ones,
seen
man.
some
like
really bad
Saw,
movies.
dude. Like Saw, like every Saw after like 4.
Yes. Oh my
they're-
god.
they're- oh,
I think,
Unwatchable.
but I think at
I think
some
they're
point
worse.
you,
I think they're
just got to
worse.
put them because, like, okay, if they make 20 more Saws, like they're all going to be bad. But at some point, you just got to put them all in one. You got to let them
Yeah.
have
no,
one
but here's the
slot.
thing, though.
You
Here's
can't
the
let them
thing.
take.
I would
bottom
agree.
20 slots.
I would
Yeah, I
agree if
agree
they were
with Kenny.
direct to DVD. If they were direct to DVD, I'd give it to you. They fucking have budgets. They have like $15 million
man.
budget.
At some point, you got to be like, all right.
I mean, I feel you.
One
I
per
feel you.
franchise. One per franchise.
Here's
gets a
what I'll
slot.
say about movies that are like that, though, Cheyenne, because I do think there's a bit of a difference to draw here, and maybe you'll agree with me when I'm done. But horror movies like that, like Saw and the Halloween franchise and Freddy Krueger and stuff like that, they're kind of known now to just be box office smashes for certain periods of time.
Right,
Like Halloween,
right.
you get all these bad horror movies that are classics, right? They're based on classics. The last Halloween that came out, Halloween Ends, is also one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I still want to see all those.
Michael Myers is in the movie in the third one, the end of the trilogy. He's in it for about 20 minutes total screen time.
Really?
Yes, the movie is probably 2 hours or longer. He's in it for a total
Jesus.
of 20 minutes on screen, if that. It might be lower. I'm not even kidding. He might be in the
Oh my
movie even
God.
less. But what I'm saying about this is The Matrix is not intended to be like this movie that people go on dates to see. So
right.
people go
It's not
on-
a
Yeah.
fucking date movie.
it's not a date. Like people go on when Saw comes out, you go to the movies. There's a lot of couples who are just like, I'm just gonna go see Saw because we're gonna go laugh. The girl's gonna jump in the girl's gonna jump in the guy's chest and be like, oh, like I can't look at this. He's about to
I
cut his
agree.
own
I
foot
agree
off.
with
do
this
the old,
point a lot.
like do the old penis in the popcorn.
Yeah,
You know what I
like
mean?
stuff like
That's
that. Like the
for horror
Matrix
movies.
is not in that category of when the Matrix comes out, everybody goes to the movies to see the
I
Matrix
agree.
because it's like the
No, I
cultural
fully
thing to
agree
do.
with your
It's not
point.
that cultural kind of movie. It's not that. Like Saw
I couldn't
is,
agree more.
like Halloween is. So yeah, that's why I think that this is just unforgivable. It's honestly unforgivable.
It's really bad, man.
It's a really good
Like I
point.
said, if Fraser came back to me and was like, and he was excited, I would have been like, all right, I'll go. Because I don't really like going to the theaters that much. I only go to the theaters for things where it's like, I really want the theater. Because I do appreciate the theater experience, but I only care because it's expensive. I only care to get that experience for things that I feel like are super, super important to me. And like,
So-
for example, the Mario movie was that.
Oh
If
my
Fraser
God.
came to me and said like, the Matrix movie, like you have to fucking see it. I would
So-
have went to the theater, saw it.
I need to
would've did
interject here.
but
If
it
you're
was
listening to
bad.
this podcast, you know exactly what I'm about to say because Kenny is talking about he doesn't go to the movies a lot and he only does it for movies that really demand it. Bro, I just saw Across the Spider-Verse like 2 days ago and it
I'm
is-
seeing that in theaters.
Okay, Kenny, please, I implore you. This is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my fucking life, bro.
No, I
Oh,
definitely.
wow.
Kenny,
Me,
it is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
It is
Me
fucking
and Connie-
insane.
Me and Connie already have full plans. We are seeing. that in
Please do not
theaters.
let this movie get out of theaters, bro. It is, and
No, we're
obviously-
seeing it in theaters.
And Cam already hit me up and he said he wants to do the podcast with us because he did the last Spider-Man one. But I told him if he comes back, he can't be bitch Cam. He has to be like, I need him to be himself. I told him straight up. I was like, the last time you were on a podcast, your energy level was really low. I don't know if you were preoccupied or distracted or whatever.
Damn,
but I was like, you
Cam,
were
you're
very
going in on
subdued and we
Cam.
never invited you back because you just weren't being yourself. I was like, so if you do come back on, I need you to be the Cam that we know you to be, the one that we invited on the show and not the one that was like basically putting on a mask because he was like, I didn't know if I could say certain things. I was like, bro, We say in this podcast episode right now, I said someone is a faggot for liking the Matrix Resurrections
I'll
twice.
say this: if I was allowed to say it, I would have said it. I would have took the
Exactly.
words out of your mouth.
Let me be the guy to say it as a
Oh,
resident
yeah.
homosexual. Let me
we
be
need
the
to
guy.
have like a phrase, like when I go like this, like
Yeah.
that means say the word. You
Listen,
know what I mean?
At least 65% of the reason why I'm Fraser's friend is so that he can say the things I need him to say. He's got a couple categories covered.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna say
do.
there's 2 words Fraser could say.
Well, it's funny. Me and Kenny a long time ago. This is in the beginning, like the first 30 episodes. I forget if it was the Black Borrow or it was one of the episodes. It might have been the Whiteout. One of those 2 episodes, though. I believe it starts off where we're singing the Wayans Brothers theme song from the sitcom from like the 90s. And it's like,
real quick,
Brothers.
I just downloaded it yesterday.
Yeah,
So you just
like,
got- oh, okay. So-
Yesterday.
So we
It's
did
like
the
we're
opening.
brothers.
Yes.
We're happy
And
and
then
we're
we're
singing
and
and we're
I was the one who said that part, and it was like perfect.
Yeah.
It was great. So
Give me a high
We're
five. Kenny, did you
five.
watch that as a kid?
yeah, of course.
yeah.
Yeah,
Of course. I watched all the
I love-
90s sitcoms, like all the black ones anyway. I watched every single one of them. Like the
Dude,
Jamie
how
Foxx
wild
show,
was that? I fucking downloaded
Living
it yesterday.
Single, the Martin show, like
I didn't like any of those. I only liked Wayne Grove.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. What else?
Fresh
Oh,
Prince-
the fucking Bernie Mac show was insane. Like there were so many.
The Bernie Mac show is so I love the art America. Like,
yeah.
I love when he talks to America.
The
Like I
confessionals.
fucking love it.
Maybe we should do
He's
an
like, let me
episode
talk
on-
to America.
We need to do an episode on that, like just 90s
on
sitcoms.
black sitcoms.
Oh, I'm down.
Specifically
I'm
black
super
men.
down.
Yeah,
I really
we gotta
like,
get our favorite episodes and just talk about them.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
But yeah, the
So across the
what were we
Spider-Verse,
saying? I don't
though,
know.
before we move
Yeah.
on, I want to say I do have a request that you do see this in theaters because I do think that the experience. So there's something that happens in this movie that I feel like will only be good in theaters. I swear to God, it had my entire theater fucking gagged, and apparently every theater has been absolutely gagged. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil anything about it, but the movie theater scene, like the environment, is conducive to this gag.
Yeah, we already have full intentions of
Bring
seeing this
Jaden.
movie in theaters.
Oh, yeah.
So that's happening.
Quick tidbit about that movie. Apparently, it is the longest animated movie ever made by an American studio.
The
Isn't that
new
crazy?
Spider-Man.
It's 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yep.
Isn't that kind of nuts?
That's awesome.
It's
pretty cool,
my God,
actually.
I was not
Because
ready.
animated movies are always like 90 minutes. They never really
Yeah.
go beyond.
Bro.
Yeah, I mean,
Just wasn't ready.
The first one-
so good.
the first one was great. I remember I saw it in New York. It was
Yeah,
me,
we all saw it.
it was me, Cheyenne, Ant,
I'm jealous.
a couple other
I'm
people.
jealous.
Nick was there. Nick was there. from
Yeah, we saw it in
Australia.
New York. It was and it was super fucking fun. It was awesome. And so I have and that movie was great. And so when I knew this movie was coming, I was like, oh, this is a movie I'm going to see in theaters because Spider-Man in general is a character that like
Yeah.
I really, really love. And the Spider-Man movies like No Way Home and shit, like I had to see that in theaters.
Yeah.
And so
and
anyway,
thank
yeah,
God that also.
I'm going to see this in theaters.
So
Maybe I'll say with you guys, Kenny.
the last thing I'll say is that like the Across the Spider-Verse movie is the equivalent of the Dark Knight for Spider-Man. Like it is the
man.
Dark Knight. Like you know how it's the second in the franchise. Like it goes Batman Returns or Batman Begins. I think.
yeah.
And then the Dark Knight. It is. And the crazy thing is like Into the Spider-Verse is just way better than Batman Begins if we're doing a comparison.
Oh,
But-
it's way better than
But
Batman
then
Begins.
Across the Spider-Verse blows Into the Spider-Verse out of the fucking water. It is crazy. Like,
Yeah, I'm excited to see that.
oh my God, I can't wait to talk about this movie. And I know everyone listening who's seen the movie, because I've been getting a lot of like, bro,
Yeah.
when is the podcast dropping? I'm like, listen,
Yeah, you
y'all
guys
know
have
how
a
this
little bit
works.
of time. I'm probably going to watch it. I'm probably going to watch it like Monday or Tuesday, like somewhere between Sunday and Tuesday of next week.
Yeah, so
because,
then we'll be on the podcast in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, this work week that I'm in now is like fucking hectic hell because there's a festival happening where I work. There's like this huge festival that's happening on Saturday, but leading up to that, there's a lot of bullshit that leads up to it. And then Saturday, I'm doing like a 14-hour workday, and it's going to be fucking hell. So I'm not going to have any time to watch it this week, but I'm probably going to watch it like somewhere between Sunday and Tuesday of next week is
Yeah,
probably when I'm
do
going to watch
not-
it. And then,
Do not let this movie get out of theaters without seeing it.
no, yeah.
I
You know,
promise
for
you,
me,
it would
like,
be a huge mistake. I can't believe how good this movie was.
I'm not really a fan of that. Any like superhero movies, like I generally dislike them. So like when I see one that's good, like I really like it, and it kind of hits me. Like I'm like I really liked Logan and Watchmen. I love the
Watchmen is
movie.
insane.
Like,
Probably got to do a podcast on
Sin City
Watchmen.
Sin City One's really fucking good. But like, I generally hate superheroes. I
Me too,
fucking
though.
hate all that shit.
I
Really?
realized
Yeah.
as I've gotten older that when I watch them, I typically just have a really bad or negative experience with superhero movies, and most of them are bad.
Same.
But then the ones that are good are like unrealistically good.
It makes
though.
me kind of interested. Like, it makes me want to see it because I feel like I go in like with like the least bias. If
But
anything,
also,
I'm biased
you saw the
against
first
them.
one and you
Yeah,
really
it's
liked
great.
it.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great.
And you were convinced. You
I
kind of
just thought it
didn't
was
want to
gonna be
watch it.
bullshit. I thought it was
Yeah.
gonna be stupid bullshit.
I low-key,
But it was
Cheyenne,
really
the
good.
first one, I didn't know what I was getting into, and I wasn't here for the animated Spider-Man world because for me, the Tom Holland franchise had already been good. Like the first one of that was already good. So I was like, why are we also doing an animated movie at the same time that Tom Holland has just been featured in the first new
It
Spider-Man
is kind
reboot?
of crazy, right?
Yeah, and they were running concurrently, and I'm like, I don't really care for an animated version, but dear God, like I don't know. I'm still in my head struggling to figure out which one I think is better out of No Way Home and Across the Spider-Verse. I have been struggling.
You know what's crazy is that Into the Spider-Verse, and no one can convince me otherwise. Into the Spider-Verse is like the reason why No Way Home was so good,
I
because
agree.
Into the Spider-Verse and the concept that it kind of was so fucking successful that they were like, oh, we got to do this
Yeah,
for the
for
live
real.
action movie.
Yeah. I agree with you, Kenny. I think it opened that
Yeah.
door. I think 100% Into the Spider-Verse opened the door for No Way Home to be as insane as it was. And then Across the Spider-Verse is just like, it's just mind-blowing how good the movie is. I'm not capping. I swear to God, you will not be let down. You know I don't make bad recommendations like pretty much ever because I just
I'm in.
won't vouch for something if it's not good. It's amazing.
I was already planning on watching it, and so yeah, I'm definitely. I want to do a podcast on it.
Yeah. You know what?
The Matrix 4 sucks as a side
Matrix
note.
4 sucks. You know, I was literally about to say, I'm so glad that we found some positivity in this episode that has nothing to do with the Matrix.
Oh man,
It has
just
nothing to do with the
fucking
Matrix. It's the
4,
only
man.
positive. Well, the Matrix 3 was good, but it has nothing to do with the Matrix 4.
What's
Yeah.
Real quick, what's everybody's favorite scene from the entire franchise? For me, my favorite scene, it's actually my favorite action scene, period, is the highway chase. All that with the ghost. That is my favorite.
You've mentioned that. I think for me, it's still the scene that I love the most. Still is probably that military storming scene where they first walk in and the guy's like, he checks Neo and Neo opens his coat and it's just fucking artillery. He's like, holy shit. And Neo pulls the guns out and just something about
that's
that
iconic.
scene. Yeah, that scene is so. And then the way it ends, where they just kind of like meet in the middle, pick up the briefcase, or not briefcase, pick up the big ass duffel bag, and then walk to the elevator like nothing happened.
I think that's the
Love
thing.
it.
I like my favorite scene, or because like I guess it's the scene that had my attention the most, and
Yeah.
because I really like when you get into like that lore and that crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like when it got to when it was like the architect and
Yeah, that
like
scene
stuff
is
was happening
wild.
with that just had my attention so lasered in, and I was like, oh my god!
It's so surreal.
It's also
Yeah,
the
I was
story
so
too.
interested.
In that
Yeah,
scene,
it's the
you got
story.
the entire story of the
And
one. You kind of,
that's
And like it's fascinating. Like there's like fucking 7 other Matrix and like all
Yeah.
this other
we've
shit.
destroyed
It's like,
them.
oh
We've
my
gotten
God.
very efficient at it.
Very
We'll do it
efficient
that
at it.
again.
had me
Yeah.
dialed in. So
You'll
that's why
take
that's my
six
That
favorite.
actor, by the way,
nails,
that
8
actor fucking killed it.
Yeah.
He
Oh yeah,
killed it.
but
Like
I want to
you
say.
know, real quick, Hannibal Lecter, but not that he would really even win, but like Hannibal Lecter, he's on screen for a total of like 12 minutes and he won like an Academy Award. If there was going to be an award, I don't think it would be like an Academy Award or whatever, but like if he were to win some fucking award, like it would be that character and that guy in that moment because he's just a fucking
Yeah,
boss.
he kills it. He
Like
kills
he
it.
just controls
And
that
so-
scene,
What do you
man.
want to say?
I want to
Yeah,
say
my bad.
because as I said, that scene in Matrix 2 is my favorite scene in all of the Matrix movies. But
Yeah.
I think Matrix 1 is my favorite movie. And some of the reasons why is I think in general, when you think about like the iconography of the Matrix,
Yeah, the dodging,
almost all of the
hand up.
scenes are in Matrix 1. Like that fucking bank scene. It's not a bank, but I always call it a bank because of Conquer. But that scene where they come in and they have the metal detector, like all of that is insane. Where they're jumping up over the walls, when Neo does like the lean back dodge, and then just like what the movie is in general. The movie in general is a really cohesive, really cool movie that's like in your head and shit. So.
Dude, apparently in Scary Movie 3, George Carlin played the architect. That's so fucking random.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's like
I
look
remember
at, I
that.
just linked an image.
I
I
low-key remember
never
that.
have seen this. I wish I saw this.
I
never
That's
seen
actually
this.
awesome.
I remember that.
That's fucking
Yeah,
great.
so For me, outside of the action sequence of the Matrix 1 being my favorite, I think that every scene with the Oracle, for the same reason that Kenny likes the architect scenes in the Matrix, I love every single scene with the Oracle because they're also the same thing. They're like immense
they're really
amount
good.
of lore. And that's the main plot point is like determinism versus free will. What choice will you make? And then, you know, the ability to see the future. Does that mean that I don't have a choice? Because if you saw that I was going to do that, then did I really have the choice to do it in the first place? Or was I always going to do it? So I love every Oracle scene, even down to the last one where she gets absorbed and she calls him a bastard and everything about it. Like, I love all of her scenes. And I think that her, especially in the first two movies, I really liked her characterization and stuff. And just the things she said, some people might find it to be super pretentious, profound nonsense, but when you really listen to what she's saying, it's like, no, this actually makes sense. Like, if somebody sees the future,
I don't think it's too crazy.
Yeah, I don't think it's
like
Matrix 4
plot.
bad. Yeah, I don't think it's Matrix 4 bad where they're just trying to confuse you for the sake of fucking.
Oh, but they're just which letters and initials and our flip flops need to go to the DSI of the glip glorps. Like, it's like, what the fuck does that mean?
But like, my favorite scene in the Matrix is when she says, "What's up, Doc?" You know, that's Dude, like, that's the thing though. Like, the Matrix 4, just as a side note, it has so many nothing scenes. Like, is anybody gonna watch the Matrix 4 and be like, my favorite? When she said, "What's up, Doc?" I fucking love. Like, that was my childhood. My childhood was Bugs Bunny, and so when she said, "What's up, Doc?" Man, like, it just made me so happy. And then the post credit scene, that fucking really cool Marvel post credit scene, man. Like, that was awesome.
Fuck, that was so bad, dude. But what I wanted to say with real quick on the Oracle is like the reason why I think you like those scenes so much, or like at least for me, is like it feels like your grandma or something. Like, she's just so nice, but she's not. She doesn't bullshit. She doesn't pull her punches. She
teaches
says things
lessons,
like they are. She's like
grandma...
a loving grandma that she kind of just tells you what you need to hear in that moment, and it's fucking nice.
She does remind me of like an actual grandma figure. You know, they know a lot, and you don't quite understand when you're young how they know so much, but then you realize, well, you've just been alive for so long, so you just know so much. But yeah, she instills actual life lessons into Neo, and yeah, she's a great part of the movie.
I love like a really warm. It's like a warm atmosphere.
Yeah, I like the character, but overall, the original trilogy is actually phenomenal. And if you still somehow haven't watched the original Matrix trilogy, I think it's a great thing for you and a date, or even you by yourself, to just binge watch those three movies. They are actually fantastic. Like, no cap, watching them again now, I feel like even stronger in this opinion that they are actually genuinely good movies to watch.
Yeah, they're great movies.
I think they're
and it's a really fun trilogy. Like, it's a good series to watch.
It holds up well, even though it's 20 years old. It still holds up really well. And then, so yeah,
if you were a fan of
Matrix going.
If you're a fan of like Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged or Dragon Ball Z Abridged, then you can watch Matrix 4, which is Matrix Abridged.
That's the best way to describe that shit. Okay. I'm going to read out the names of the people who have been supporting us over on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for still rocking with us. It is now May 2023. Or no, it's June. I'm sorry. June. It's fucking June now. And you guys are still rocking with us. So I am super appreciative of that. And as we always say, it goes a long way that you guys continue to support the IMNerd podcast. We look forward to dropping more exclusive content on the Patreon. I hope you guys checked out our last Patreon exclusive episode that we dropped on that was actually about fashion, and that was requested in our podcast channel on our Discord. So if you're interested in that, make sure you check that out. Anyways, without further ado, we have Connie and Austin, which are literally like the first two people to ever subscribe to our Patreon. And then we also have Leon, Rogan Tier 2 aren't bad, they just aren't great, Garen Williams, Xavier Swift, Hylian, Dimitri Barnes, Meow, Dominic Roberts, Giovanni Avalos, Alex Flamer, Henri Reynolds, Dan Vrabel, First to Home, Estada Akuma, Mitchell Naus, Midwest Gaming, William Shapiro, Dimitri Safirdas, Vince Marquette, Dallas Bailey, Roz Weiss, Nick Stengo, Hansel, our two-time national champion, Ka-chan is a poorly written character, Sarah Maria, Sunny Top Cut Podcast, Alex Ahern, Philip Campa, Chris Lynn, Wookie 159, Edison Club, Kyle Batelho, Brandon Moore, Sugal, Nick, Mr. Soultide, Nafa, Corey Fowler, Omar Ramos, Elijah Barfoth, and then
a true hero, Tyler Tadeo, Majora X. What a fucking loser. Look at that guy. That's that guy there. Anthony, Matt Glenny, Rogan Tier 2 are the polite terms for bad deck. Crunch Wrap. I always hate reading this name. Not any fault of you, but because of Frazier. Duty Booty.
Duty Booty.
Adam Corey, Enraged Peacock, Leo Bacani, the Janitor 215, and JX.
I just realized Janitor 215. That's actually Philadelphia.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right, Janitor, reach out to me. I can't see the pictures that they show on here are extremely small. Like, I can't actually see who you are, but I feel like I must know you, right? Because 215. Yeah, we probably know each other like 1000%, but I really can't see on Patreon. So yeah, reach out to me, just send a message and be like, yo, it's so and so. But yeah, thank you guys. Janitor and JX are 2 newest Patreon subscribers. Thank you guys so much for being on there. JX, I assume that at some point you're going to want to challenge me to a shadow game because you're at the main character tier. So let me know when you're down and I will be happy to oblige. But yeah, as I always say, guys, do the things that make you happy, including enjoying the original Matrix trilogy and shitting on the Resurrection.
Also, I've been streaming some Tears of the Kingdom on Twitch. Majora plays games on Twitch. Kenny has as well, Critical Hit Plus.
Well, Ant's streaming it more than me. I've been avoiding streaming it because I just don't want people to spoil things for me.
Yeah. Like, did you do this yet? Did you go to this dungeon yet? Like,
I know.
Yeah. So Ant's been streaming it more than me, but our channel has been streaming it.
Did you get to the Cux Neo boss fight?
Did you fight Dark Ganon? You fought Dark Ganon? It's like, bro, what the fuck is Dark Ganon? Like, I don't even know what that. Like, isn't Ganon already dark? Like, what are you? Like, what are you? Like, what
He's like darker.
Like, what do you mean? What is Dark Ganon? Like, what do you even mean?
Really dark.
Oh,
man.
All right. Well, I'm ending this episode.
Have a good one, fellas.
All right, bye, everybody. Thanks for listening, everybody.
See ya.
Thank you.